patrol the cover boundary. At last the time is come, this is a cricketing emergency. Hear this call to arms for every cricket revolutionary. Take up your bats and stumps for the test match insurgency. At first they tried to silence us, but we would not be silenced. They threatened us with lies, so we threatened them with violence. Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket. It's not about the winning, it's about how many rules you break. Even in cricket commentary, this is the best advice to take. Pick guerrilla cricket, it's the finest choice you'll ever make. There's so much more to cricket than rev counters and a slice of cake. At first they tried to sanitize us and clean up our act, but people like it filthy, and we know that for a fact. Fidel Castro, Lenny Pasco, Carlos the Jackal, Umar Akmal, Mahatma Gandhi, Grant and Andy, Brendan Behan, Austin Ian, guerrilla cricket. Stick with us, cause you know we're not the kind of thing that you see on the TV and the radio. So vive la revolution. First they tried to buy us, but we would not be bought. Okay, we were, but then we ran away, and we will not be caught. Would not give up the ghost when they left us all for dead. They decapitated us, but we just grew another head. Chairman Mao, Jamie Howe, Ho Chi Minh, Asif Din, Václav Havel, Graham Saville, No Surrender, Percy Fender, Che Guevara, Sangakkara, Joseph Stalin, Douglas Jardine, Robespierre, Darrell Hare, Vladimir Lenin, O'Brien Kevin, guerrilla cricket.
It's dry, very, very dry out there, or at least that's what the media is saying. The rains on the ramparts have relented. Great news for England's one fan in Sri Lanka, and could produce a spinning spectacle from the outset. These are fine times for Test cricket, and let's hope that the weather remains equally fine, and we're left with more reasons to love it. Good morning, good afternoon, good dawn, good dusk, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Guerrilla Cricket. I'm Nigel Henderson, Guerrilla Hendo on Twitter, and I just can't wait for this to get underway. I am joined first thing this morning by men of steel, iron will, and some humour. We have Tony Bishop all the way from Claygate, Surrey. Morning, Tony.
Good morning, Hendo.
And we
Good
have
morning, everybody.
Hidden away there somewhere in Epping Forest, miles away in a completely different county from me, there is Nestle Boy. Morning, Nestlers.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, I'm very excited. Do you know, that win by India over Australia has just re-energised me for the whole of the Test match winter. I'm just full of the joy of Test cricket. What about you? Are you feeling the same way? Feel the same way?
Test cricket, mate, it's the best.
It is the best. And we are back at Galle, which I like to refer to as the little ground on a roundabout by the beach. It's a wonderful little place, and those aerial shots have given me a whole new vista for excitement and enthrallment. We have
Swindon, Milton Keynes and Galle. I'm just trying to think of great roundabouts.
Well, Canberra. Canberra, of course, is well renowned for its roundabouts. There's no doubt Messi Jez, who is on later, will tell you, although he's not a native of Canberra. I'm sure he's been up there. The news is that it's pretty much as you were from last Thursday, because Sri Lanka have won the toss and have decided to bat again. What do we make of that? Any thoughts? We told, as I said at the beginning, that it's going to be very, very dry. That turf out there has been baked to a cinder, and it will turn from the very off.
And it will continue to turn more. So, a conventional wisdom of batting first holds good. I think from a Sri Lanka perspective as well. Psychologically, the final words from Mickey Arthur, who I noticed, by the way, is sporting a pair of tracksuit trousers earlier on. Which is all a huge disappointment to fans of his shorts.
Absolutely.
But I'm sure his final words to his troops are, put the wrongs of last time right. They do say you can't lose a test match. You can't win a test match on the first morning, but you can go a long way to losing it. And although they fought back magnificently, and we had another 5-day test. Let's not forget your fantastic words about tests there, Hendo.
Yeah.
We had 2: the India game, India in Brisbane, of course, and the Sri Lanka test 5 game. In fact, the first and last 2 tests here at Galle have all gone to 5 days. So I think batting first is the right thing to do, but I'm sure there's an element of righting previous wrongs that will be ringing in the ears of the 2 openers as they head out.
Very good points made there by Tony Bishop, all the way from Claygate, Surrey. Now, I must tell you, the teams, those are also important. England have made just the one change. There had been talk about Ollie Stone coming in, maybe finding the extra spinner, Moeen Ali, perhaps. But none of that has happened. All that has happened is that Jimmy Anderson has replaced Stuart Broad. And it was quite interesting, wasn't it, to see Angelo Matthews talking about Stuart Broad, saying that it was like facing him in England. He was bowling so well. He only picked up the 3 wickets and didn't actually take a wicket in the second innings, but was very miserly in his work. So that's very encouraging. But he's sitting on the sidelines today. For Sri Lanka, there are changes. Well, 3 of them, in all honesty. Finally put out of his misery, Kusal Mendis, the man with 4 ducks to his name in a row. The man who got battered and bruised at short leg. He's been given some time off. He's been told to go and sit in a darkened room for some time. He is replaced by Ashado Fernando. Coming in to make his debut is Ramesh Mendis, who replaces Shanaka, and Suranga Lakmal. Now there's a familiar name and a familiar jingle. I can't actually, it's so long since we've had a Suranga Lakmal jingle that I can't remember what it's like, but Tony was singing it when we first came on air, so it must be good. He comes into the attack. We've lost Hasaranga. I wasn't very impressed with Hasaranga, so I think that's the right move from Sri Lanka. Now, with so many things to talk about as we look through and we look ahead to this continuing arc of an Asian tour, with England going to India next, not only because India are looking absolutely almost unbeatable, having all this strength throughout even their reserves, pretty more strength than the reserves that England have got if you look at the names that are on that list, but it's just fabulous. It's a fabulous time for Test cricket. It's wonderful and exciting, and we have players out in the middle. We are going to stop wibbling for a moment. We're going to jingle them up, and we are going to get underway. Bear, take us away, maestro.
La hero dere money!
No, Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
Yes, it is going to be Jimmy himself who is going to open the bowling. He's going to be bowling to Kusal Pereira by the looks of things. And it's a beautiful sunny day on the roundabout. Oh, he's looking very, very matinee idolish is Jimmy Anderson. 3 slips. He's in, bowls back of a length. In behind the ball goes Pereira, defends it into the onside. And there is no run. 79 miles an hour. And we are underway. We will be getting on to your your hellos on social media very shortly. We're coming to Nestle Boy. We will be talking about the GPL, the Gorilla Prediction League, which we must get underway without fault in this test, because we rather cocked it up in the last one. A few technical difficulties. We're just looking at pictures of Ramesh Mendis being given his first cap for Sri Lanka just before the start. Anderson in again, back of a length, onto his toes, turning it into the onside. Zach Corey is into field, and there is no run. Nestlers, tell us who has joined us on the great Twitter.
Suman Nag, who says good toss to win. Mog's with us, he says hello. He says maybe the team had a severe lice infestation and thus the equally severe haircuts.
We noticed that at the beginning of the first test. They had more people have had haircuts between tests. That's extraordinary. Anderson, it's Stiramani is facing. Sorry, I misled you there. Outside the off stump again. Good carry through to Joss Butler as he leaves that outside the off stump and re-scratches his mark. Looks around to see if Steve Smith's about to come and mess it up, and he isn't. And there is no run.
The light roller is almost as excited as Hendo, he says about this.
Oh, I really am. I've only had an hour and a half sleep. I was that excited. It was like Christmas morning, when Christmas used to be interesting.
Joe, you were up late last night, weren't you?
I was still up. I don't think I fell asleep till about 1:30, and then I had to get up at 3:15. Anderson in again, bowls. A fuller ball this time, but no hint of swing as Tiramani watches that closely. Past him and on through to Joss Butler. Yes, I was up. I was still discussing with Knackle at about 12 o'clock last night the various ramifications of potential changes to the Sri Lanka team. So yes, it's been very exciting. Any more tweets?
The light roller again says the Basin Reserve Cricket Ground in Wellington is also on a roundabout.
Is it?
It
now,
is, yeah.
that is interesting. We should look for great cricket grounds on roundabouts. That would be perfect. Anderson in again, once more back of length, hint of movement off the seam away from the left-hander, and it's once more allowed through to the keeper.
Would that make a good coffee table book? Cricketing Roundabouts of the World?
It would. No, I think it would. I think you're onto something there, to be honest. And we're in fact looking at that roundabout now from a great height. A drone is up there showing us a glorious picture of Galle, the ramparts and various other things like the sea outside the off stump, full of length. Left alone, that is the end of the first over. It's a maiden. Sri Lanka are none for none.
Talking of books,
yep.
we have the latest. I have the latest rather from our own very own Aninda Dutta.
Oh, you do?
Which I don't know if you can see it very well with this backdrop, but oh god, it's all gone a bit pear-shaped, isn't it? But this
the great Indian tennis players.
It's advantage into the story of Indian tennis, and I've already started reading it, and it's great.
Oh, good. Yes, I think it's a fantastic book. I mean, he's written all other books that I know of his have been on cricket, but he's tapping at a real niche there, I think.
Well, he knows his tennis as well. I didn't realise, but he does.
There you go.
Did we say hello to our friends on Hot Mic, by the way?
Not yet.
They're Nestlers.
Give me time.
Okay. I just noticed there's a couple of interesting ones there.
Leah's with us. Says good morning, you sons of Krypton. The Devil Dogs is telling everybody to listen to us.
Good for him or her. Anyway, we'll come back to tweets and various things and Hot Mic. We'll get off those Hot Mic ones, but it's Sammy Curran who's going to open the bowling. Hair flopping as he comes in and bowls this time to the correctly identified Kusal Pereira, and there is no run as he pushes that into the offside. Yes, give us some Hot Mic, baby.
Tony, have you got Hot Mic up?
Oh, I do. It's quite interesting, actually. Nathan is saying, good morning all, looking forward to an England win from my mine site, just off the Nalabor on the WA side. So we have someone who's presumably not actually down a mine at the moment, but on the site of a mine.
Wow. Curran in again. Oh, a little bit of swing. Hits him on the pad. Big appeal. That's got to be close, hasn't it? No. The umpire is unmoved. Well, unmoved apart from a little gentle shaking of the head. I think, unless he's got a touch on that, I'd be keen to give that a review. And in fact, England are reviewing it. This is an important moment in the game, you would say. Sammy Curran definitely getting a little bit of swing there, and Pereira was just toppling over a little bit as he was trying to play around his front pad. I think he's in trouble unless... Ooh, it's just on the knee roll. I think he's in a lot of trouble, and that will be a massive blow. Pereira, one of the more consistent Sri Lankan batsmen, with 60s against South Africa a couple of times and also against England in that first test. I think if there's no inside edge there, he's in some trouble. Anyone agree with me? Anyone?
Yeah, no, I do. It'll be, and it would validate the selection policy, because Sam Curran was one of those potentially up for replacement by Wokes, as I thought, kind of all-rounder for an all-rounder, mix the squad up a bit from an England perspective.
Yep. Well,
5 wickets. Sorry, go on.
There may be a problem here with regards to the technology. Oh, we're seeing it from side on. I don't think there's an inside edge. Thuds into the pad without making any impression as it goes past the inside edge. We just need ball tracker now, really, don't we?
Mickey Arthur's going to explode again.
He's looking very intense.
He's probably thinking, even now, I wish I'd worn my shorts.
Yeah, well, I mean, exactly. Just get some air around that area. It's much more healthy, isn't it? Well, we're still waiting. England have come together in a group of 11 players. They're all standing around. It's certainly pitching in line. Impact is in line, and that is umpire's call. Oh, that's a shocker. That's a shocker. That really is unbelievable that Pereira is going to get away with that. And it's a very unlucky Sam Curran, who thought he got a wicket with his second ball. But now, technology
this is one of these situations where people get very upset on social media and say, but it's hitting the stumps. But it's hitting the stumps. That's not the point.
It's not, although a lot of people believe it should be. I mean, I think games would be over a lot more quickly if that was allowed. Curran then, back with the ball in his hand, runs in with renewed energy. Again, a little bit of a way swing as he brings Pereira forward in defence, playing the ball to extra cover, and there is no run. GPL, people, GPL. Do we know what the GPL is worth today? Anyone care to suggest what it may be? It was £83 when we couldn't get it to work in the first test. I don't think we had any winners throughout that.
It is £88.
It is now £88. The Gorilla Prediction League. Anderson. Curran a little bit shorter this time, and Pereira tries to force a little jab outside off stump. Times it well, but straight to extra cover again, and there is no run. So we are waiting for the first wicket. We're also waiting for the first run, are we not? But it's taking a while to come.
It's a greater frustration, I think, Hendo, when if the ball is clipping a stump, you kind of have every sympathy with the umpire. When it's, I'll just hold that.
Curran again outside the off stump, left alone by Pereira, and there is no run.
When it's thudding squarely into a stump, albeit in this instance leg stump, it's a little more frustrating from the bowling perspective. I mean, that looks to be a shade more than clipping, doesn't it? That looks square on hit.
Yeah, it does. But them's the rules, or them's the laws, should I say?
But that might not be the reality of what the ball's going to do. And also, that's not what I'll break off.
Oh, Curran bowls. He aims a big drive at this one and actually beaten on the inside edge. Through the keeper it goes. Second maiden for England to start with. Sri Lanka are none for none. The GPL, we'll come to tweets again in a minute, and hot mic as well. The GPL is open. You know how to play this now. You go to our website, GorillaCricket.com. You go to competitions. For £1, for the stake of £1, you estimate how many runs will be scored in the day. And if you get it on the nose, you get all the money that's in the pot. £88 in the pot at the moment. The more people pile on to that this morning before lunch, that's when we create a barrier. That's when you have to have your score in. The more people that pile on, the bigger that pot gets. So it could be £100 or more for a stake of £1. That's the Gorilla Prediction League. Go to gorillacricket.com/competitions. Back to the tweets.
Leia says, winning the tour on Australian roads means nothing. They're flat track bullies who will surely fail on subcontinental dust bowls. Don't worry, England.
Yeah. Go on.
Rabinair says, "Hi guys, can we spend some time revelling in the Aussie defeat at Brisbane?" Well, I think we've done that. And
think
Jay
we've already
Grover says,
started.
"Good morning, all."
Good morning, Jay. Lovely to have you along. Jimmy Anderson to start his second over, bowling to Tiramani, fresh off 100 in the first test. Only his second 100 in his test career, and it's a career that's been stop-start really from quite a few years ago. But maybe that will have given him that little bit of confidence he requires. Anyway, settles down.
Mog says that his Thiramani single jingle sucks.
Oh, does it? He's very self-critical, is Mog. I don't understand why. Anderson in, defended off the line of leg stump. Good ball from Anderson, straight to mid-wicket. And there is no run. Did we ever get through that? Did we get? The hot mic man was down a mine. We discovered was
he was on a mine site.
a mine site.
I'm not sure. Whilst we are global, ungeo-blocked, fully unfettered, and available up mountains, I'm really not sure what reception might be like down a mine. Although presumably, you could wire your wireless down a mine just as you could anywhere else, I would think.
I would have thought so. Anderson in again. Oh, now left on length, that by Thiramani, getting his stomach, almost like pulling his stomach in and away from that while lifting the bat high above his head. Does anyone know what happened to the Chinese miners? Have they got out yet? The ones that wanted sausages. I don't know if you read this story earlier in the week. They were trapped after an explosion, and they managed to get a note out saying we're still here, and then their second note said it was, can we have some sausages? So I'm really hoping that it's got a good outcome, like the chili miners, if you remember from a few years ago. Oh, onto the back foot goes Thiramani, just drops this down inside the crease. It bounces perilously close to his off stump, but he survives, and still we wait for the first run. None for none.
I'll quickly say hello, shall I, for hot
Yes.
mic, and then hand everything back to Nestor's. Nathan was with us, so hello to him, and we also have Mayank with us. I think it was Nathan who was complaining that it's chilly. Oh no, Kez also. Hello, Kez, and I beg your pardon, Kez. Kez who was saying it's chilly in Florida, which has promoted something of a discussion because you don't expect it to but it's chilly in Florida apparently. And morning to Mayank as well.
Anderson bowls again, very much concentrating on the back of a length. This one is going to bring us the first run as it's dropped into the offside by Thiramani, and they hurry through for the single. Sri Lanka up and on their way. They are 1 for none.
Chitrajit Misra has joined us on Cricket Tracker. Says, "Nice match. I love it."
Yep, we do. It's great. It's cricket. Now, also, another thing to be aware of is that there's a new article on our website. We love you coming to our website to have a little root around and ferret. You can get lots of things from our shop. If you click on the link on the front page of the website, you'll see t-shirts and various things. 3-6 from the Galle. Answer's going to come round the wicket now to Pereira. Pereira pushes into the offside, and he thinks, well, Thiramani's going to take a single into the offside. I'm going to do the same, and he does. And that's the end of the over. Sri Lanka are 2 for no wicket. Yes, we've got a new article up on the website written by our old friend. You may remember Scott Rutherford, freelance journalist from Australia, who quite regularly likes to write stuff about us, but can never find anywhere that will accept his articles. So it ends up back on our website. So you can read all about what it's like to be a gorilla getting up at 4 a.m. This was inspired by a glorious piece on the BBC website yesterday, where they were all crowing about how wonderful they've been to manage to get into their dressing gowns and get up and do commentary for the first test. And we thought, hang on, we've been doing this for 6 years. So anyway, go and have a look at that. It's under features on the website, may even be on the front page. Go and have a little laugh at that. Curran bowls a little bit of a gentle arc away from Pereira, and he allows it to pass through to the keeper. Any more tweets?
I think, by the way, Hendo, you should have a job as working in web analytics.
Why?
Well, for either Adobe or for Google Analytics or something like that. Well, your engagement metrics for understanding behaviours on websites would be perfect. You could have views, engagements, but you'd have routing and ferreting.
Oh yes, routing and ferreting.
Which I think would make superb web analytics.
Also a very good opening pair. This one hits high up on the thigh as Pereira tries to come forward and then just springs out into the offside.
In all the years I worked in internet advertising, I don't ever recall asking my my web metrics team, can you just give me the routing and ferreting numbers, please?
Oh yes, the routing and ferreting are probably the most important thing that you'll ever find on a website. And I think I think I've probably set a trend by now. So South Sri Lanka are 2 without loss. We're into the 4th over. Sammy Curran, see how long he can get this ball to swing. It's strange that Curran is swinging it. This is defended by Pereira into the onside, gets applause from his captain at slip. It's interesting that Curran is getting some swing. Jimmy Anderson isn't at the moment, but it may be that he's bowling a little bit short, I would say. Probably a little bit rusty, maybe just sort of trying to find the right length that he wants to bowl. But Sam Curran has found it almost immediately. Very unlucky not to have a wicket in that first over. And he's at the end of his run-up again. He's coming in, 3 slips go down. This is down the leg side, hits the pad. Joss Butler tumbles to his right, almost does a backward somersault in stopping that. And again, there is no run.
Bill Franklin's joined us. Morning, brothers and sisters. Joe Root of the People's Republic's 99th Test. Le lutte continue, he says.
Oh, it is, isn't it? So the first Test in India will be his 100th.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite exciting, isn't it? Ooh.
Adelaide Barmy's joined us, says it's hot and sunny in Adelaide.
Well, it always is, isn't it? Pretty much at this time of year. Curran in again, bowls. Oh, smashed by Pereira. He's driven that. He's drilled it. The timing wasn't there, but the power was. And that has taken it all the way to the boundary for the first one of these.
It's Nissan She. It's Nissan She.
It just signs that perhaps the ball's coming onto the bat a little bit better than it was at the outset last week. And, although Pereira didn't really time it, dragged it a little bit, face closed somewhat in his hands, he's got enough on it to get it past Sammy Curran at the other end, and away it goes. The little Surrey man comes in again. And this ball is straighter, but it takes a thick inside edge as he tries to play it into the onside. Brings Mark Wood at long leg into the action. They get another single. That is the end of the over. Sri Lanka are 7 for no wicket.
Jonathan Lowe is with us. Says good to be with you early in the morning. Merv84 says, will Leach do his business on day 1 as mentioned below? And there's an article you can all look at on the Twitter feed. Ravi Nair says, don't forget the oval is basically a roundabout.
Yeah, true, yeah.
Great.
A massive roundabout.
Yeah, put it on the list, put it in my book.
Put it on the list, yeah.
Tim Everington says, afternoon Gorilla, do we know Sri Lanka's YouTube channel is streaming this test again? I don't, but we can, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't think...
YouTube, Tim, and type it in.
I think that's available in certain places. It's certainly not available in England, as far as I'm aware.
Knuckle Pandy's up with us.
Who he?
Oh, I don't know. He says, good morning. It's my firm contention that we're living in the golden age of Test cricket.
Oh,
he says,
another golden age.
The global depth of fast bowling has never been so high. Most pitches give plenty of help to batters and bowlers alike. There's barely been a bad test for 3 or 4 years.
Yes, that's pretty true, isn't it? Yep. Yeah, when we're sitting here on the 4th day and we're still in the Sri Lankan first innings, I think perhaps we might reconsider that.
Mohammed Hasnain Abbas says, Jimmy on fire.
Literally?
I hope not.
Mrs. He likes Arthur Conan Doyle.
Mrs. Luigi Magpie's with us as well.
Hello, Mrs. Luigi.
Good morning to her.
Pereira waits for Anderson. Anderson bowls more fully and has got a wicket because Pereira has aimed an ambitious blast down the ground, has got an outside edge. The ball has kind of looped because he only got a little bit of bat on it, looped up to Joe Root at slip, and that is very disappointing, I would say, for Sri Lanka. Pereira goes for 6.
That was very silly.
Number 601.
Indeed. 601 for Jimmy Anderson. That was a terrible shot at this stage in a test match when you're coming off a defeat by 7 wickets after you've been out for 135 in the first innings of the previous test. It's just a lack of concentration, isn't it? You don't take on the man with 600 wickets in his 3rd over.
Was the first 5 overs of a morning of a first of a
These two had
test
been
match.
so disciplined, hadn't they? In the second innings of the last test, was it 111 for Thiramani, 62 for Kusal Pereira? Curran on that occasion removed them both, didn't he? In sort of comparatively rapid order, as often happens with partnerships. One brings the second. But that was, he just threw the arms at that as to one that did swing away and bat away from the body. And as you say, it was, given the discipline of the last innings, that was just a rather poorly thought out, executed shot. But you've got to credit Jimmy for getting that away shape on the ball.
And Jimmy will be pretty happy because Sri Lanka's not really been that great a hunting ground for him. Unbelievably, and it kind of shows how long he's been around, Jimmy Anderson. This is his 5th tour to Sri Lanka. His first was in 2003, 18 years later.
6 wickets at Galle, Hendo. 6 wickets at a cost of about 25 in two matches, previous matches at Galle. So it's by no means poor figures, but if you look at his overall bowling figures in Sri Lanka, his averages don't look as good as they do in other countries.
No, 12 wickets, 46 it is, as we have a bit of a statistics standoff. But he's absolutely delighted. You can't tell which of us has got our notes in front of us, can you? We've all got our notes in front of us because we're that concentrated.
Well, I've got to be fair, and I'm not sure we'd be looking at the Bears pile of notes.
Yeah, the Bears pile of notes.
To shoot from the hip in a standoff.
Coffee, meat, vape. Now that one really comes back off the seam as the new batsman at the crease, we should introduce him with a jingle, is Ashado Fernando.
Ashado Fernando's a guy from Sri Lanka. He's a batsman hard to stop, but once he starts, he's never played at home, and now he gets a shot.
Well, there you go. That's pretty scary, isn't it? That's Mog. Mog can be an acquired taste at this time of the morning. Down the leg side, flicking the pad as it goes on its way, and it's taken by Joss Butler. I'll bring you some info about Ashado Fernando in a moment if I can get my notes up quickly enough. But a very promising batsman. But then we say that about so many Sri Lankans, and I do think it's something to do with their selectorial approach, that the players often aren't given a long enough run. They tend to
very strong off the back foot.
Very strong off the back foot. Well, we shall see. 3 steps in the gully. Anderson in. He comes forward this time. Very strong off the front foot. Plays it square to Galle, and there is no run. 27 now. 27. He is into his 7th test. Has got a highest of 102 against Pakistan. That was last year in Pakistan, presumably. Yes, it was. It was Karachi when Sri Lanka went over there to play a couple of tests. We're looking at Pereira's dismissals in this series, and they do not make happy watching if you're a Sri Lankan supporter. Quite awful, actually, his dismissals in this series. Anyway, Anderson has the ball back in his paw, and he's about to come into Fernando again. He's in, back of a length. Oh, he's chopped down onto his stumps. He wasn't very good off the back foot there. He forced him back. He got an inside edge as he tried to play. And Jimmy Anderson is making up for all those lost years.
Agreed. 602.
And has 602 test wickets, 2 for 2.
I won't look back, 'cause by the time that I do, you'll be gone.
Yeah, he just he stood tall, didn't he? But again, the bat was not tucked in to the body, and it kind of almost invited that inside edge. Did climb a bit from Jimmy. That was, by the way, his it's his home debut. Poor old Ashado Fernando.
Poor Ashado.
All his previous tests have been away, so that's not a great start for him on home soil, sadly.
Can we get a mic on Mickey Arthur at the moment?
Oh, it'd be fun, wouldn't it? I mean, he must be popping out of his tracksuit bottoms. Yeah, absolutely.
Mark,
maybe he needs to go back and change into the shorts just to bring better luck.
Back. I mean, it makes it more fun for everyone.
Let's
be honest. Yeah, Nestlers.
Mark Zips joined us. He's telling everyone to listen to us. Mog says, but it's hitting the stumps. Martin Lawrence is with us. Hello. Let's hope this game will be as good or better than the last one. Let's have a look. Leah says, but that's not how probability cones and confidence intervals work, Tony Bishop. I'm not quite sure what that's about.
I did reply though.
Okay. And Mayank's with us. It's been a rough 4 days without Test cricket after that India-Australia 5-day thriller. Looked at the forecast and don't see any rain on the forecast the next few days, which is perfect.
Well, possibly Sri Lanka's most experienced and best player, really, over the years, comes to the crease. It's Angelo Matthews. Shall we jingle him up?
Run into ball or he comes into bat. Angelo Matthews.
Well, he's going to have to settle down, as I said at the beginning of the day. He was very complimentary about Stuart Broad's bowling in the first test, and he's coming out to face someone of similar or even greater ability in Jimmy Anderson, fired up with 2 for 2 at the moment. So he's going to have to get his head down here, isn't he? Really sort this out for Sri Lanka.
Did quite nicely in the first test, 27 and 71.
Well, he's a top class batsman. He really is. He's a top class player. It's just that he's been around for so long. We tend to think he must be about 39, and he isn't. Here comes Jimmy Anderson over the wicket to the right-hander and defends, feeling for that one a little bit outside off stump. That is the end of the over. More success for Jimmy Anderson. 5 overs bowled this morning. Sri Lanka in all sorts of trouble at 7 for 2.
Neymar Butland is with us. It's almost 8:45 p.m. here in LA. Already in bed with you lot and hot mic. That's nice for you. Jeff Perkins says cold in Florida due to the chill emanating from Mar-a-Lago. Leia says Hendolytics, the web I can't say it too early in the morning. Analytics equivalent of Austrian school economics.
If Leah's got some money to spend, we'll have a chat about investing in Hendolytics.
Yeah,
because I'd love to be standing up in front of a group of marketers presenting the routing and ferreting stats for their website. It'd just be brilliant.
I think that would be fun.
Will Franklin tells us Redditch is the place for roundabouts. They even have calendars and everything.
Roundabout calendars. That's phenomenal. Curran bowls to Thirumanni, who's been watching from the other end as wickets have been tumbling, and he plays that nicely. A lovely little delicate glance helps the ball on its way fine and down for 4 runs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That takes Sri Lanka into double figures. They go to 11 for 2. It's amazing. This pitch has got so much more life in it from a seamless perspective. So much more carry than the one that we had a week or so ago. Is it anything to do with the overhead conditions, which are beautiful today? I'm not sure what the temperature is. Someone will tell us. Outside the offside edge! Oh, just wide of third slip. That is going to run away to the untenanted third man boundary for another of these.
2 + 2 is our man. 2 + 2 is our man.
Poor old Sam Curran. He's watched the senior bowler the other end snaffle the 2 wickets, and he's had a very good appeal turned down on umpire's call, and has taken the edge, and as yet hasn't had success. That's the way it goes sometimes.
Jimmy will be looking and say, "Well, listen here, youngster. Listen here, youngster. You've got to play for 18 years before you can expect to pick up wickets at my average." Anyway,
he also turned into a Yorkshireman.
He'll turn into a Yorkshireman. I can't do a man from Burnley, and why would you want to? This one comes off the thigh pad, if anything. Maybe a little bit of bat involved. It's gone behind square leg. Crawley Fields, they hurry through for
Probably
1.
shouldn't mention Burnley with the bear this morning. It may be a
Oh yes, I did laugh. I did laugh when I saw that.
Good old Sean Dyche.
I mean, it's all right. I mean, I'm quite happy for Liverpool winning the league last year after so long, 30 years. But you don't want it to become a habit, do you? Let's be honest. I mean, you know what they were like in the 70s and 80s, where they just dominated everything. We don't need that again. So I was quite pleased to see Burnley, and it was a penalty.
I've just seen the score. I didn't know.
Anfield. Oh my word. Anyway, back to exciting things.
Another tragic day for the city of Liverpool.
I think it was. Yes, the poor people of Liverpool. Apart from those ones, of course, who support Everton or Tranmere. Anyway, Matthews comes down to face Curran for the first time, who will think it's very unfair that halfway through his third over he has figures of none for 13. Anyway, Matthews, this happened again, didn't it? The problems with the sight screens. What is it? Has someone not hung it properly? Maybe they needed a few of those rings to hang it from, like you do with your normal curtains. But anyway, maybe he's just trying to use up a bit of time to help him sort of calm down. But he's been around, Matthews.
I thought you were queuing up a chance to sell our shower curtains again, Hendo. There.
Oh, now there's a thought. 2 slips and a Galle. In he comes, bowls to Matthews. He gets that second leg, that back leg round as a second form of defence as he plays this square on the offside, and there is no run. 16 for 2. Tiramani has 9. Matthews yet to score. Don't forget the GPL, don't forget the shower curtains, don't forget that you can get all sorts of wonderful merchandise from our merchandise store, which you will find on the front page of our website. Go to the front page of our website, GorillaCricket.com, and you will find lots of things there to feast upon. Curran in again, beautiful ball outside the off stump, has him prodding forward, beaten by the swing. I think it might have gone between bat and pad. It didn't come back enough to hit the off stump, but slightly nervous moments for Angelo Matthews, who takes a little bit of a walk. Now, it was on the outside edge, actually. He was playing for a little bit more swing. Takes a little bit of a walk to square leg. Sighs as if there is a certain sense of anxiety out there. And we focus on Jack Leach, who's wearing... Has he got 2 caps on there? Or is it just 2 pairs of glasses that he's got on there? One back to front. Curran in, that's shorter, into the hip of Matthews, who thought he was going to get it off the mark there as he turned it into the onside, but it was not to be. And that is the end of the 6th over. Sri Lanka are 16 for 2. And we should be having a change very shortly. The Bear should be coming in to take over. In fact, now. And so I will take my leave until next session. And Bear will be joined by Tony. And all the way from, well, not far from Anfield, not overly far from Anfield, we have Al Hodge. Is it a sad morning, Al?
Oh, it's an early morning.
Morning, Al. Who's Joe
Morning,
Strummer? Is that Nestle? It's turned into
yeah,
Joe
I'm
Strummer.
taking over on our social feeds, and we have a lot of people on Crick Tracker. Jip Misra and Duran Ferguson and Shala Udin. So hello to all of you.
How come your pictures are staying up there? Those 2 boys, their pictures have come up. They're staying on my fucking feed.
They're staying on your feed, are they?
Yeah, which means you two aren't. And you're not on picture, Al. I don't know what's going on here.
I can see myself in the middle of my screen, so... Well, to the side.
Anyway, Jimmy is up to the crease bowls, and Thiramani lets it through to the keeper, and there's no run. What the hell is going on here?
Do you want us to take care of stuff while you take care of stuff?
Well, I need Nestle and Hendo to leave, I think. For some reason, they've stayed up on the picture wheel. I've just got... And you have not appeared.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Do you want to take... Why don't you take over some ball by ball?
I can't do anything from this end. They've got someone needs to send them a message and tell them to get off. Left alone outside the off stump by Thiramani, and there will be no run. And we have no Al. I don't know why the fuck this is going on. But hey ho, Jimmy, 38 years and 176 days. It's pretty old. Would he get through to the Ashes? We shall see.
I think he'll get through to the Ashes. I think, though, the Ashes might be it, though.
I think both he and Broady are thinking that
I don't think Broady's going to retire after the Ashes. He's only about 34. Why should he? That's defended back up the track by Thiramani, and there is no run. I don't like this talk of Broady should retire. Why should Broady retire? Bloody Jimmy's nearly 39, and Broad's about 4 or 5 years younger than him. Could overtake him.
No. I think what it becomes is the idea that in the same way that you view athletes through Olympic cycles, we view cricketers, England cricketers anyway,
through Ashes series. Yeah.
Defended by Thiramani. and there is no run.
And I wouldn't be surprised as well if there wasn't a little bit in the England cricket culture of we'd rather get rid of you one test series too early than one test series too late.
There we go, sorted. Sorry, say that again?
I think there might be a culture that I think they'd rather, I don't like the sporting idea that actually I'll hang on until I want to retire on my own terms.
Well, no, but I mean, if you're still taking wickets at a good rate, why the hell should you retire? There's no point in retiring someone when they're doing well. If they start doing shit, then fair enough.
I think it's. Oh, sorry, Ben. Sorry.
Defended by Thiramani, back up the track. Jimmy Anderson, no run.
I think with regards to all sportsmen, I think it probably becomes an idea. You know the sacrifice that it takes to get ready, and at some point in time in your life, the work that it takes to get there just doesn't become worth it.
Yeah, true. And maybe for Jimmy that will come after the Ashes, but I'm pretty certain he wants the Ashes. That's worked into the leg side out to long leg. Jack Leach is down there, I think, and they'll get themselves a single.
Stan on hot mic is saying Broad's going to retire after the 23 Ashes, if not the 24-25 Ashes. So he's with you, Bear, very much. Is Stan?
Yeah. Absolutely, something like that. Have we had our friends on YouTube? Michael Bedford says GPL, the King's ransom, if we're talking about King John. Dan De Castro is with us. Morning, Dan. He says they'll need Ander, Broad and Jofra to do well in India. And they will have all three. Jofra is going to come back into the squad. I think Jofra will go well in India. No crowds again, but he's a fair bit of experience at the IPL, knows the Indian wickets. And as Knackle quite rightly says, India have got a decent barrage of quicks themselves now, so the wickets won't be totally anti-fast bowling, which means it'll be a bowl-off. And we have two of whilst Bumrah is top, and so is Shami and Bumrah and those guys, we have two of the top wicket-taking fast bowlers in the world who have bags of experience in all sorts of conditions. And if the wickets are more suitable to them, I'm sure they'll enjoy it. Defended back down the track by Thiramani to Karan, and there's no run.
If we're to take anything out of the Australia-India series, is that you don't play the games on paper.
No,
because the Gabba would never happen. So we go in as underdogs, but we would have gone in as underdogs anyway.
Yeah,
but let's play the game, shall we?
Having said that, I still think we'll lose 4-0 because our spinning department's shit.
Listen, you might well think that it is, but what
left alone outside the off stump by Thiramani through to Butler and ain't no run.
You either define the moment or the moment defines you.
True. I mean, they could have a bit of luck, but I mean, I'd rather have a bunch of Indian spinners than I would English spinners. I mean, they're more consistent, more likely to get a line and length, and the wickets better.
I get all of that, but some of the things that I've heard, both in our WhatsApp feed and online, would make us feel that, well, there's no point in even going because we already know what the outcome is.
Well, no, I mean, Curran in bowls, defended by Thiramani out towards cover, and there's no run. Yeah, I get that. I mean, they can improve. I mean, they're not bad. I mean, Bess is he's got to get his lines and lengths right, as we were talking in the last test.
He's probably more likely to learn that in an India series than he is in any England series.
Well, that's my point. He's going to be learning on the job.
When the first time he's going to come on to bowl is the last over before lunch.
Yeah, this is true. But he's going to be learning on the job, and he's not particularly experienced, and he's young. And if he gets on top of it, all well and good. I think Moeen coming in, he'll have a bit of experience out there. He didn't have a particularly good series out there last time, to be fair. And the last time England spinners had success was Panesar and Swan, when we won that series back in 2010 or something like that. Arrowing in towards the stumps from Curran, and Thiramani defends out to mid wicket, no run. 17 for 2 after 7.4 overs. Thiramani's on 10. Matty's yet to get off the mark.
I do like what both sides have done, which is like essentially name the squad for the first couple of tests. I think in longer series, I think that's going to happen post bubble. The idea that that there's going to be a big squad from which we select a smaller squad.
Well,
and people kind of rotate in and out.
I've said that for a while. With modern bloody international air travel, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do it. Different when you're on bloody steamer boats going back in the day. Short by current, doesn't trouble Thiramani at all. Just ducks underneath and through the keeper, and there's no run. I mean, you can fly someone in a week's notice, get them some practice in the nets, and they're ready. It should be ready to go. Theoretically, if they're still practicing at home, acclimatise them, give them a week, and they should be able to play. So I have no problem with that whatsoever. I'm not sure it will be the case post-COVID, because obviously this is as much about mental health as it is about player well-being, and if players can get out and about and go for a meal and stuff and don't feel enclosed. Ooh, that was arrowing towards the stumps, clipped by Thiramani, plays across his pads out to deep mid-wicket, and there'll be a single. And that ends the 8th over, 18 for 2.
Lots of people with us. I'm going to try and catch up. Mike Mihal Wood says, just a bison today. The light roller says, which channel on YouTube Sportsbet is working well, but in a rather small window. Sanderman says, ooh, Jimmy. Trev Evans says, a little bit of guerrilla cricket at this ungodly hour before Bangladesh versus West Indies second ODI kicks off. Mog says, I'm an acquired taste most times of the day, Hendo. Jason Hiscock says, morning. Jimmy strikes early as the talented Pereira aims an inauspicious flog at a ball over in the 5th over and is taken at slip. Yes, indeed. Farong says, morning all. Guess we can assume England will be batting today. Say that just yet. Will Sri Lanka bring up the ton? Yes, I think they will. Always good to see Liverpool get beaten. I'm sure the Bear won't like that. Even better when a penalty decides the outcome. Cheers. Jeff Perkins. Hendolytic sounds more like a rage-induced paralysis, and I will carry on after a while. That's caught up a few, but there's plenty more.
Around the wicket, Jimmy, to Thiramani, who gets right forward and defends, and there's no run. Yeah, Liverpool have been poor recently. They won 6-0 against Crystal Palace and then haven't scored a goal since. Weird.
It happens.
It does happen.
It happens.
I'd rather it happen.
Ball is wrapped.
I'd rather it happen now than it did later in the season. And most seasons everyone has a dry spell. I mean, City were crap at the beginning of the season, weren't they? And now look at them, they can't stop winning. So as long as we keep up near the top of the league, I think we'll still be in contention towards the end of it. Anderson around the wicket into the pads of Thiramani, clipped up to mid-on, and there's no run.
I mean, I'm sure when Watford conceded 8 in the penultimate game of last season to Man City, I'm sure that all that they were thinking about was, I'm sure I'm going to love it when Liverpool lose to Burnley in the Premier League in the middle of next season.
It wasn't the last season, but it was pretty ugly, whatever.
It was your death knell as you decided that you were better in the second division of cricket. The second division of football again.
I've expunged that.
Have you become manager yet? Is it been your turn? Has that really been the case?
I will tell you, actually, I did have a call from an ex-Watford player who was just checking in on me to see I was all right, which is quality, I think, from the club.
Should be the other way round.
Yeah. Anderson into Thiramani. He's defended once more up towards mid-on. Anderson goes across, picks it up himself, and there's no run. 85 miles an hour he's bowling at. It's decent speed for a 39-year-old or 38-year-old.
And we'll take care of the replay of AF. When Hendo's team decides it's not going to move, when it can decide where it wants to live, then we'll take care of that as well. So glass houses and all that.
That tails in a little bit towards Thiramani, who once more just defends up to mid-on. There's no run. This is Anderson's 5th over in the heat. He looks a bit sweaty. Hasn't had a haircut.
Well, he's already bowled longer than Broad ever did, didn't he?
He's already done his job. You could argue, couldn't you?
Well, this was the funny thing, wasn't it? I mean, in the last test, England bowled the pace bowlers in the first innings a lot longer than they did in the second innings. They bowled, I think, probably like the first 15 overs they bowled with pace in the first innings. And then they didn't follow that up in the second innings. Defended out towards mid-wicket and there's no run. Maybe they think there's the most life you're going to get out of the pitch is at the beginning of the game on day 1. And by day 4, the seamers will not get anything out of it, even with a new ball, and therefore they'll go to spin quicker. I mean, Sri Lanka didn't even open up with seam in the second innings, did they? They just went straight to embolden Iyer and Pereira. I give Woody a go before Well, I mean, presumably the spinner would have to come on with him anyway. Jimmy is in, and that angle into the hip of Thiramani, who just clips that down to long leg.
I'd imagine so. It just becomes, like we mentioned in the last test, about which spinner you want to put on first, and it's usually been Bess before it's been Leach, hasn't it?
It has. Let me catch up a few more. Mark Zip said, apologies if this is a repeat. Of course, no discussion of roundabouts would be complete without mention of Swindon's magic roundabout. My mum's hometown. I love visiting the grandparents and making them take me round it. Well, what a day out that is.
There was
young Mark. Come on, young Mark. We're going for a little spin round the roundabout.
Oh, I was going to say, if you don't get it right, it might not be deliberate.
It is. I have to say, it is. Well, but I'm a man who used to go to work by driving around the Étoile in Paris every day. So, and there literally are no rules. You literally just plunge your car out into the traffic and hope for the best. I also used to go around it on a moped frequently, and how I've still got 2 kneecaps is beyond me, because the traffic would just be cutting you up left, right and centre.
Is it just confidence, Tony, about that roundabout in Paris?
Well, it certainly was when I had my moped in Paris, that's for sure. Mark Zip also said, try showing that magic roundabout to an American driver. Shudder. PJ Mead, morning gorillas. I missed you at the last test. Pure laziness, not setting up at stupid o'clock, not setting a clock for stupid o'clock. We have a delivery this morning. I don't fancy watching the cricket with all the doors and windows open.
Okay, we have a change in bowling, and it's not that first bowler. It's the other one.
Coming up, here's a face that I know. It's Jack Leach. Now coming up is Jack Leach. Oh, Jack Leach.
See, I'd give Woody a shot with a new ball. I mean, it's only 9 overs old. It hasn't gone very far. It's not been hit particularly hard. Sure.
I'm always fascinated about how how bowlers measure run-ups and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, these days they tend to do it with tape measures, don't they, and stuff. They run out those big bloody tape measures and go, right, that's my run-up. I used to always run mine out. That turns a little bit into Thiramani. There's a short leg, there's a slip. Can't see the rest of the field. No doubt Aggers on the BBC will have the same problem as me.
Tony, how do you used to measure your run-up?
I'd pace it. Gentle, medium paces, nothing special, but about 7 or 8 paces, I'd pace it out.
Yeah,
on the rare occasions I was called on to bowl. Which
3 big strides and
goes back this time as Thiramani, hits it into, I presume it's Crawley at short leg, and there's no run. I used to pace mine as 7 normal paces, and then I'd do a leap for my 8th pace, and that was it.
And then a lie down.
Tossed up by Leach, possibly a slightly too straight, as Thiramani clips it past short leg out towards the mid-wicket boundary, who runs in and fields, and I'll get a single.
I love the mental picture of pacing your run-up and then immediately demanding to be taken off the attack.
No, I used to love bowling when I was younger. The longer the spell, the better.
Couldn't get the ball out your hand, yeah?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's the great thing about being a spinner. You don't get tired. And when you're younger, I remember games where I bowled. I mean, the longest spell I bowled was 24 overs, I think.
That's a fair old stint.
That's an entire session, though.
It was a school match. I started the bowling. It was an absolute... I still remember that game. And that was when I was about 15. The wicket was a peach for a spin bowler. Clipped off the back foot, punched I should say, out to the cover boundary by Matthews, who gets himself off the mark with a single out to deep cover, and the score is on 21 for 2.
Our school games were only allowed a limited number of overs each.
Well, this was back in the day, so we got rolled for about 119 or something. Leach is over. That's too straight, mate. Too flat, too straight, and clip square on the leg side. Too easy for a single down a long leg. And the team we were playing had a kid called James Stoneman, who was a well-known around. He played for Middlesex Youth, and he was a quality batsman. And he was the only problem. The rest of them were pretty crap. And he knocked one up to mid-off, and captain who was called Paul Fish. Left alone outside the off stump by Matthews, and it's taken by Butler. There's no run. Ran him out with a direct hit, and he was probably one of the worst players in the side, but he was captain because he was up a sixth and we were all a bit younger. And somehow he managed to get a direct hit from mid-off, and James Stoneman ran himself out. And then I bowled 24 overs and got 5 for 56. And the pitch was turning, and it had a bit of pace and a bit of bounce. It was a great pitch to bowl on. But we didn't win, it was a draw. They ended up 9 down, but they didn't get 116 in about 56 overs.
Let me catch up on some more tweets, if I may. Jason Hiscock says, not a roundabout per se, but I played at Royal Ascot. It's a strange feeling to play surrounded by large spectator stands in the middle of the course. There's also a golf course as well, isn't it, Jason, if I'm right? I should know. My dad used to work at Royal Ascot. Leah says, I'm with the bear on the Jimmy issues, especially in a year where some 63-year-old dude decided to enter Daytona 500. The Jersey Jingler says, I was going to bed, but now I have to deal with a flying squirrel in a trap in our attic. Please keep me distracted. Well, we'll do our very best. There is going to be one change of bowling. I'm going to quickly read Mog. Given there are only 25 fit bowlers in all of India right now, I don't think your spinners are that bad in comparison. Bear, we have some change of bowling news.
We do. It's this man.
Do you know Mark Wood? Yes, he is an England bowler, quite good and pretty quick. So just a normal guy. Of course. Except for just one thing. What? He thinks that he's a horse.
Right. What? Yep, the man who thinks he's a horse. And we were just watching replays. He did have a bit of fun against Matthews in the first innings. First ball is decent line outside the off stump of Thiramani. He just lets it through to the keeper and there's no one. I've done my first bet of the day. And
what have we gone under for?
I should have gone under for the first fall of the first 2 wickets. I think I've got under 36.5 or 35.5 for the fall of the third wicket.
I love that essentially we're not talking about what's going to happen. It's like it's not have a bet, it's what's Bear's gone under on.
Yeah.
So under for the fall of the next wicket, under 36.
But Wood to take a wicket might be a bet. He had a pretty average last game, didn't he?
Well, I thought he bowled all right in the first innings.
For 29 and 2 runs was not a great test out for him.
No. Yeah, defended by Thiramani off the fat outside half of the edge. Looked like it was going to get past backward point, but it didn't. And but they do get through for the single.
Tony, did you think Don Best bowled better than Mark Wood in the first innings of the last test, considering Don Best took 5 wickets?
But neither does Don Best think that.
But no. But it's nice that wickets is a metric, but sometimes you can be a bit unlucky.
Yeah, I thought Woody bowled all right in the first innings. He didn't bowl too bad in the second innings. It became a lot harder in the second innings to bowl.
Look at the results. I would say, he played his role. He wasn't expensive.
No.
There usually ends up being one bowler like that in every innings, though, isn't
and you
there?
can always argue that he may have taken wickets
at the other end
in a way, or created the situations where Best could take them.
Absolutely. Matthews didn't like facing him last time up, did he? He still seems to be warming his body up, although it's quite hot, mind you. That was 89 miles an hour, defended by Matthews out to the offside, and there is no run.
But ultimately, he will look at that test and he will see those 2 0-4s, and won't fondly remember that test. He won't be thinking when he's talking to his grandchildren, I'll tell you that great test where I bowled really well and set up wickets for another bowler to bowl absolute filth and take 5 wickets.
Yeah,
it could be. Let me tell you about that test match where we won in Sri Lanka.
Possibly.
Well, he's up to the crease now. Bowls, arrowed in towards the stumps. See, Matthews doesn't like facing him, really. I just don't think he likes the pace. Knocks that up to mid-on and hairs off down the track to get himself a single. That's 92 miles an hour. It's pretty nippy.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to face that either.
No.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I'm saying I wouldn't want to face it. Let's be fair. I couldn't see it, let alone...
Yes.
Unless he was going to be kind enough to bowl it at my bat.
Yeah.
I'll just put it down. If you could hit that, Mark Wood, then we're fine.
I don't know what the fastest... And this is the thing, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, when we went to that bat fast place, I don't know what the fastest bowling I've ever faced. The fastest bowler I think I faced recently was some guy. I think he was Indian or Pakistani down near Hampstead Heath.
Yeah.
No, not Hampstead. Where did King Henry VIII? Where was his palace?
Well, that's right up the road from me. Hampton Court.
Yeah, defended. back down the track and there's no run. Is it Bushy
Were you
Park?
playing in Bushy Park?
Yeah,
then, there?
Bushy Park.
There's
We're
3
playing
clubs in Bushy Park.
Yeah, I can't remember which one it was.
It will have been Hampton Hill, Teddington, or Teddington Town, or actually there's 4 because it could have been Hampton Wick.
I think it was Hampton
It's got to be
Hill.
one of those 4.
I think it was Hampton Hill. The guy was a cab driver of South Asian
narrowed it down.
of South Asian origin, and
Right.
he bowled extraordinarily quick, and they virtually kept it. I mean, he virtually bowled the entire innings himself, you know. And he kept
I
bowling.
must have told you about a
short
team
at
called
me.
Mokatra that I used to play, who were all cab drivers. I'll tell you after this ball.
Oh, Moen's
Actually.
looking cool with his sunglasses on. Short-ish, not too short, and Thirumanni wants to work it around the leg side, admonishes himself for not getting it off the face of the bat down there. Instead, it just wheedles its way back down the track. Woodfield's off his own bowling, no run. The sea looks lovely.
A team of cab drivers, Tony.
Yeah, it's Middlesex second 11 cricket when I played for Old Lyonians, and we used to play this team called Mokatra. And inevitably, they would always choose to bat first. The main reason being that most of their team could never arrive on time because they were just dropping off the last pair. And obviously, if they chose to bowl ever, they wouldn't have the team, and literally they'd be sweating because the next man in, let alone not having his pads on, he probably hadn't even pulled into the car park. It used to be a bit hairy for them. Oh, lovely chaps! It was always always entertaining cricket. Good side too, by the way. I mean,
Isn't the problem about having to try and bat while turning over your shoulder?
You never guess who I had behind the stumps the other day. It was at Niroshan Dickweller.
Yeah, that trouble we've had getting it, honestly.
Well, Leach is going to bowl to Angelo Matthews. First ball doesn't turn and he goes deep in his crease, forces it out to cover. Off the back foot, there ain't no run.
Neil Pickup mentions has to be the basin, doesn't it? That's in response to great cricket roundabouts of the world.
Tossed up leg stump, played out to short leg. No
Is the
run.
basin the one that looks basically like a cake tin?
No.
There's a great magic roundabout in Hemel Hempstead. You know,
Yeah, we were talking about that with Mark Zipp. I was mentioning that.
defended back down the track and there's no run. It's just a big roundabout with lots of mini roundabouts on it. It's bloody confusing.
Funny enough, my reply to Mark was like that. I said Hemel Hempstead right up there in the great roundabout pantheon. Neil Virani says people don't really understand that following first impact it's entirely a prediction, has a margin of error, huge expectation gap. I think that's in response to discussions around ball tracker.
Well, supposedly so. That's defended back down the track. There's no run. This is a better flight and direction from Leach on that ball. It's true, but supposedly it's only about half a millimetre out on a predictive element. I mean, I guess it depends how close to the pad it hits. I mean, often ones that pretty much hit in the full, if you're a spinner, it can't predict because there's no predictive element because it hasn't actually turned, which can be annoying if you're a spinner. But that's defended out towards mid-wicket by Matthews, no run. But if it's done what it's going to do off the pitch, then the predictive element is reasonably accurate. I mean, that's what got India to accept it after all the years. They were the only team that wouldn't accept it, weren't they? Clipped by Angelo quite nicely, but can't beat the man at mid-wicket, and that ends the 12th over, 24 for 2.
Suman Nag says Dharamsala, MCG and Edgbaston. I think that's in response to great roundabouts. I didn't know the MCG was on a roundabout. It has a walk around it, I guess, but it's not. I don't recall it being a roundabout. Martin Lawrence very kindly says, I'll keep an eye out for scores of Bangladesh versus West Indies if you would like. Martin, you are an absolute prince amongst men, and thank you for offering to do that. Neymar Butlins, Jimmy's bowling like he's in Sri Lancashire. Amazing. Neymar, never ever slow to toss in a pun worthy of any of ours, I have to say. Jason says 5 paces from my marker to deliver, but the run-up was 8 with 3 paces to hit my mark, moving instead of static. Now, so that's Jason's run-up measuring technique. I've watched him bowl.
Yeah.
Jason, a very, very, very tidy bowler indeed, I might say.
Woody was starting to run up, and then Thirumanni pulled out and started pointing and stuff behind him.
Are you on the board of selectors for the Dan Lucas 11 game when we?
No, I tend to end up umpiring. for some reason. They look at me and think I'm too old to play these days, and I never get a chance to actually play. And they field the younger Bishop instead, which I suppose, to be fair, is a reasonable move, because he's obviously a better cricketer than I ever was, frankly, is my lad.
Wood is finally up to the crease, bowls. Thiramani just jabs at it out to cover, no run.
Drew Rollison does say Swindon Town FC and Swindon Town Cricket Club play on a ground that is near the Magic Roundabout. Indeed they do.
All I've got is the music from the Magic Roundabout in my head when we've been talking about that.
And Neymar Butlin says, my school bowling was so erratic that I was allowed to score and carry the bats to the field.
Wow.
There you go, Neymar.
That's that. Is that sort of like, what position do you play in football? Left
Went on
back,
to a
behind.
great career in Hollywood, so, you know, them's the breaks.
Up to the crease, across Thiramani, he leaves it, and there's no run. Might have a go going around the wicket. We're going to have a change at the end of this over. I'm disappearing, Tony's disappearing, and Al is staying. Nestlers and Messers are going to join him.
Here's two I didn't know about, the way. Krishna Jaga says Arnos Vale, St Vincent in the West Indies.
Well, it's a roundabout.
Apparently.
Lots
There's
of
more than you
grounds on
think,
big
you see.
roundabouts, it would seem, worldwide.
These are truly Google searches that people will be ashamed of.
Well, they're very good, though. I mean, I have to say,
no, that's
name a
fabulous. I mean, the volume of information that we've had has been staggering.
That's what happens when you mobilise our meeting audience.
Woody in. Nice drive by Thiramani. Beats cover. Should get out to the boundary. It's slowing up. Outfield's a little bit quicker than last week, but not slow enough to prevent it from getting there. And it gets finally to the boundary for 4 runs.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Not sure he timed that perfectly.
He was kind of on the up a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a
but
little bit.
It's a cracking shot.
It was a cracking shot. He got 4 runs. Carrying on from where he left off with his ton.
Oh, beautiful.
Maybe outside half of the bat. I think Woody really wants to bowl at Angelo, doesn't he? He keeps bowling at Thiramani, so I might be tempted to go around the wicket, as I said, if I were Woody. Short again, and bottom hand comes off the bat. He tries to crash it through the offside, through point Thiramani, but only hits Bess, who is there, and there is no run.
Jason says, also not roundabouts, but surrounded by roads. I played at Cranley, Ollie Pope's club. Massive playing area, bigger than the Oval. Neymar Butlin says, I think he's referring to my friends from Mock the team of taxi drivers. The team that would literally select the next cab off the rank.
I think Wood's going to come around the wicket for the next ball.
Good man, if he is. Not sure he is. He is. He hit around the wicket to Thiramani and angles it in towards the stumps. Thiramani plays it out to mid-wicket, no run. I played at Cranley. It was an absolute road.
That means you didn't take any wickets.
I didn't take any wickets, and they battered. They were a classic side. I think I took 1 or 2, but they were a classic side where we were a side of like virtually 40 and 50-year-olds, and they were a side of 20-year-olds, and it was.
That's tough.
Yeah, it is tough.
Experience can count for a lot potentially when you're batting. It might let you down in the field.
Well, it let us down all the time. In my
it.
last few years playing for my club, it's so, basically we'd lose 30, 40, 50, 60 runs in the field. Everyone's just so bloody old. Defended by Thiramani up to mid-on. That's the end of the over. There was no run. It's the end of my spell. End of Tony's. Al will take you through with Messers and Nestlers, and we shall see you shortly. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
guys. Hiya, Jez. How you doing?
I'm very well. And how's the partridge of the Wirral going?
I'm trying my best at this time of the morning. After I finish this, I've got to get ready for work. So it's we're doing okay. If my eyes are open at this time of the morning, I feel like it's a moral victory.
Well, I can tell you it's 36.7 degrees here, so I wouldn't mind sending you some of that.
I think at this time of the morning that may be a little bit difficult. I think. Thank you for the sentiment, then. And how are you, Nestle boy? Are you good?
I'm awake.
It's the small things at this time, isn't it?
It's the small things in life.
It's the small things.
Amit Sharma says Newland Stadium in Cape Town with a view of Table Mountain, but I don't know if that's on a roundabout. Sophie Cox with a rather funny tweet. Fast bowlers in club cricket once scored a friendly game here in KL, where the opper had a seriously fast bowler. Unfortunately, he was also very wayward and bowled 14 wides in his first over. Umpire from our team had to retire after 2 overs because his arms hurt.
You just get shorter. You get T-Rex arms, don't you? After a while, it's just be like.
Knackle also, when I was playing under 11s, I used to end up fielding long stop because we had a left arm fast bowler who was too quick for our wicketkeeper. I know that feeling.
What being the wicketkeeper or being the long stop?
Becoming the wicketkeeper at first slip because our wicketkeeper was an alcoholic.
Collector of empty bottles is so much of a more.
It's an interesting question as to what age cricket long stop gets renamed as deep fine leg.
We've had a short break in the action. I think there's been some drinks taken.
Well, let me get through some more tweets.
Oh yeah, then let's get up to date.
Yeah, Neymar Butlin says, wasn't the Magic Roundabout all about drugs and counterculture anarchism? Farong is describing his bowling run-ups. He modelled his 18 paces from the theory of Bob Willis. And Amit Sharma says Newlands isn't on a roundabout. He's just he got too excited, but still beautiful.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right just to tell us grounds that you like.
Yeah, but don't please tell everyone that because they'll be inundated.
Oh no. Yeah,
Stop,
well we've got
stop.
Nestle's on for half an hour. Yeah.
Shush. Anna Forsyth, hello all. Let us never mention hockey or any other sport ever again. Cricket is the only sport to exist. No, I don't. I cannot agree with that.
No. We're a broad church.
We are indeed.
Yeah. I'm going to speak to the bear about Guerrilla Olympics.
God.
If it takes place.
Knuckles says the West Indies win the toss and bat in the second ODI versus Bangladesh in Dakar. They've given an international debut to the wonderfully named opener Kjorn Otley.
Anyway, here Leach, good line just on off stump, and Angelo Matthews prods forward in defence. Sri Lanka 28 for 2. Thirumani remains on 19. Matthews 2 not out. Fancy coming in for your home debut and getting chopping on for a duck. Do feel sorry for Fernando. That's more lofted up, and Matthews has taken the aerial route, and I think that might have gone the whole distance. We're just waiting on the umpire's view. It is a 1 bounce 4 for Angelo Matthews.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Just a little bit too full from Leach, and just a 1 stride forward and straight down the ground.
I must admit, I'd love to see Angelo Matthews make another ton in Sri Lanka. It's 5 years since he's done it, 6 years almost.
Leach, and that is wide, slightly shorter, and Matthews is able to cut that ball away, but there is a fielder there at deep point, and there'll just be a single. But it's been real. First time certainly that we've gone over the top of the field. But I guess if you're a spinner, the idea of trying to take the field on is not something that you're necessarily worried about too much about. If it is that you're going down the ground, you'd probably be more disappointed by the ball that Matthews was able to cut away. And he's outside of Thirumani's off stump, and the left-hander just bats the ball back to the bowler, and there'll be no run.
It's just a pity that Pereira tried to do it against Anderson rather than the spinner.
You can see a little bit of him against South Africa as Leach comes in again, and that is Thirumani's able to let the ball come to him, and with the spin he'll clip that behind square on the leg side. But there is a fine leg who's be able to limit everything to a single. But yeah, Pereira, it was like death or glory every time he went to bat against Sri Lanka. And It was a bit frustrating at times because it was like 30 or 40 and then get out.
Well, they would have been happy with 30 or 40 from him today.
Yeah, no, but it's just that sort of intent that doesn't quite seem in keeping with the situation of the game. You know, you're 1-0 down in the 2-match series.
Yeah.
You know, is it really the time? But
it's like Wade playing for Australia. He's got that same rush of blood thing comes to him after he's made a few runs.
Yeah. Are they gonna keep on thinking about him as an opener?
Oh no, I hope not. I think his days are very limited. If they had someone else fit, I think he'd be out of the team.
Last ball of the over on Matthews' leg stump, but it only goes as far as a short square leg, and there'll be no run. Nestlers, if we come to you quickly for social media, I've got a couple of questions to ask Jez about the fallout from Australia.
Jersey Oak says, morning all, are we happy with the Mango Mussolini has gone? Oh yes. Martin Lawrence says, silly me, totally forgot about the first game of the BBL double header. Don't worry about that. Leia says, anyone who doesn't want to see Matthews make another ton at home doesn't deserve Test cricket messes. Serenity Now says, good day lads, I used to go halfway through the run up really fast and I'd slow down and I'd almost stomp in for my last 10 or so paces. The theory was it would confuse the batsman and he wouldn't know how fast it would come.
Did he have like the arm going? If he's going to go Bob Willis length run up, it's like as if Willis was trying to adjust himself in mid-flight in order to be able to get into the wicket.
Dear. Neymar Butlin says, the 3 roundabouts he knows of in LA, they call them rotaries. No one knows what to do when they drivers see it.
That's why they only have 3.
I know. They don't do roundabouts a lot in America, although there are more and more coming in.
Mark Wood in around the wicket, and that's a bouncer that Thirumani has to take evasive action to get out of the way of, and there'll be no run. Jez, has there been any sort of from the Australian side of looking at that last Test match of the series? Has there been a call for people's time to be up, other people to be brought in, or?
I think there's a lot of doubt about Payne as captain, but there's a real difficulty in terms of finding someone else because there's a reluctance to put Smith back.
Yeah,
and
that's on the hip of Thirumani. Tries to turn that ball away, but it will be fielded at mid-wicket by Mr. Lawrence, and there'll be no run.
And there's still a strong view that having a fast bowler as a captain wouldn't work with Cummins there, and I'm inclined to agree with that. I mean, my thing about Smith, apart from the fact that as a personality I'm not particularly keen on him, is I actually think he's much likely to perform better as a batsman if he's not captain.
It's kind of, you know, we tried to turn around and to go, our best player should be captain, but your best captain should be captain, as Wood comes in again, and that's again speared into the legs of Thirumani, and he does turn this away through mid-wicket, and there'll be at least a couple as it is eventually fielded on the boundary. Thirumani will move to 22. The total moves to 36.
He's looking reasonably comfortable, Thirumani, isn't he?
I think they're playing into areas of strength, so you know, they're not necessarily. I think he doesn't really seem to be in any danger, really.
Yeah. I mean, what's come through to me really quickly with this game is how much better than anybody else Anderson and Broad are as fast bowlers. I mean, no disrespect to Wood, but it's just a different class, isn't it?
Well, it is interesting to consider that Wood and Archer are relatively the same speed, as Wood is now over the wicket rather than around. Slightly straighter in terms of his line, but Thirumani just blocks the ball past Wood, but it goes no further than mid-on, and there'll be no run. You know, and it's about height, and it's about action, and about where's a good line and length for you to bowl. But you know, it's not. You know, we try to narrow it down to an attribute that you must be quick. That the difference between like 84 miles an hour, 88 miles an hour, 92 miles an hour, that's all the difference in the world that it is, and it surely isn't. And that's onto the hip again of Thirumani. He takes one hand off the bat, but that will go Leach, I think, coming in to field at a deep square leg position. He'll take a single, and Matthews will come on strike to face the last ball of the over.
Yeah, Anderson reminds me a little of Lilly in his later career, where he slowed down, but he bowled really smart.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much to be said for all that experience, all that just knowing exactly what to keep doing. It's just brilliant. I love watching Anderson bowl.
Yeah, Lilly always seemed like he was a bit more of he was a thinking bowler that we only gave him credit for that as he got later in his career. What about?
That's right.
Do you think of Jeff Thompson the same way, or was it always just express pace with Thompson?
I don't think he was nearly as smart a bowler, and he didn't have so many tricks as Lilly. Because of that slingshot, it gave him less possibilities.
Last ball of the over, just defended back by Matthews. There'll be no run, and that's the end of the over. Sri Lanka 37 for 2.
We're joined by PJ Mead. A duck on debut is sad, but not irreparable. I think at a village cricket final at Lords, when Gorillas provided the commentary, there was a player that turned up on his birthday and had a goldie. He walked back trying to hold back the tears. A tough day. Anna Forsyth said there are 2 big roundabouts on the university campus I work on. I think I'm the only one who indicates on or near them. Jason Hiscott was always confused by turn right on red when driving in Florida on a holiday. And yeah, that always scares me when I'm in the passenger seat and people do it. Al arguing for the Brearley Gambit, I see. I absolutely approve.
Well, it just there is a lot to be said that Joe Root was a better cricketer when he wasn't captain.
Yeah.
And probably the stats bear it out.
The real difficulty in all those circumstances is finding somebody else who'd be a good captain and would justify their place in the team if they weren't captain.
No, it's an imperfect scenario. I mean, there's pluses and minuses. It's just depending on where you believe this. Where's the benefit?
Yeah.
It will be interesting. I mean, I don't know too much about the way Pat Cummings thinks about whether he'd be a good alternative as captain to Tim Payne, but there might be a slight amount of revisionist history that, with regards to Payne, as Leach comes in, as a looped delivery outside of Thiramani's off stump, and he drives that ball to the covers, but not to the boundary. There is a deep cover fielder, and there'll be 2 runs to Thiramani, well run by the Sri Lankan pair.
Dave Carpenter has joined us on GorillaCricket.com Facebook. Can't believe you're talking about roundabouts and haven't mentioned Milton Keynes. And Galle is actually a roundabout, says Dave. Yes, that's kind of why we're talking about it, Dave.
And that's slightly straighter, and Thiramani looks to turn the ball away with the spin, but can only find the short leg fielder, and there'll be no run.
Steve Lingard is also with us and says good afternoon, keep up the good work. Adelaide's Barmies member, Lingy.
Okay. Leach in, 3rd ball of the over, and that's just a regulation for defensive shot. There'll be no run.
Obviously his nickname. Dandy Castro says they'll need to Anderboard and Jofra to do well in India.
Yes.
It's going to be tough work, tough sledding, but it's doable. Much more pitched up but wide of off stump, and Thiramani's able to drive that ball through the covers, and Anderson will not be able to pick that off, and that will be another 4 runs to Thiramani.
It's interesting that
It's me, she. It's me, she.
You had to deal with a rapidly returning bear.
Yeah, I know. In the first test, Bess was the one who was getting a lot of exposure early on. He was bowling too short and getting wickets from it. Whereas in this match, Leach is over pitching it a bit too often, but not getting reward.
Leach in again, but he's coming around the wicket now, looking to try and I think turn the ball through Thiramani's gate, but just a nice defensive shot into the covers, and there'll be no run. Just 1 ball left of the over. I think
is it the same script?
I'm not entirely sure. Maybe. Not sure how many strips there are at Galle.
I doubt very much it's the same strips, surely.
Leach with the last ball of the over, trying to push it across Thiramani, but he'll just chop that ball down into what would be sort of a gully area for a just backward square on the offside. There'll be a single. Thiramani will stay on strike. He's on 30. Sri Lanka 44 for 2. I think Leach is just bowling slightly too wide.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot said about that. There's quite a fair few members of both sides that haven't played an awful lot of cricket in quite a while. So there's a little bit of relearning on the job, I think.
Yeah. Any tweets, misses?
Adelaide Barmies. Funny story about one bounce four from our local cricket here. I was excitedly telling the gang about a bloke who took on our opening bowler from ball 1. Smashed him over his head for a one bounce 6, said I. You think they'll let it lie?
Not a lot of chance there.
No chance.
Oh, mate, you might be needing to hang your head there a little bit, I'm imagining. Yeah, I wouldn't expect to win any arguments in the pavilion anytime soon. As Wood is in to Thiramani, and he'll just drop that ball into the offside, straight to the fielder, and there'll be no run.
It's interesting. Yeah. I was looking at the statistics. Wood bowled 21 overs in the second innings of the first test. I didn't realise it was that many. So he'll be feeling like a rest after this match, I have no doubt.
No, it was
humidity.
It was interesting. I always found it interesting the way that England used Broad. That it was 4 over spells, but not many of those spells as Wood is in again. Short pitch delivery, which Thiramani rides the bounce of, and there'll be no run again.
Great tweet from Neymar Butlins from ABC News in America. Arnold Schwarzenegger received COVID-19 vaccine at Dodger Stadium, and his quote was, "Come with me if you want to live."
God bless him. No, he gave a very emotional message a couple of weeks ago about after the Capitol attack. I thought that he was very eloquent in that.
The best things are him having dinner with his donkeys in his kitchen, though.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen those?
If you're Arnie, you can do anything. Wood slightly wider of the crease. Thiramani tries to drive the ball straight, but only finds the mid-on fielder, and there'll be no run.
They are actually in his kitchen while he's having dinner, and they come to the table, and he feeds them off the table, and of course talks to them.
Yeah, of course.
Who are the people that that you not that you know, but you know of, that if you heard any story about them, you would just automatically assume that they were true? Does Arnie fit into that category?
Yeah.
I've got a picture of as Wood is in again, and that's a steepling delivery right into the ribs of Thiramani, but he's just able to get on top of the ball and just guide that ball down to the leg side, and there'll be no run. So if someone said to you, "I've got a picture of Arnie eating with donkeys in his kitchen," you would automatically go, "Well, of course you have."
Yeah.
Well, these are actual videos, so it's actually there's no setup. But I know what you mean. I don't know who would you. Yeah, I know there are people like that. I can't think of any at the moment. It's too early in the morning.
Well, the Bear's one of them, probably.
I haven't had enough coffee.
Wood is in for the 5th ball of the over, and that is again tucked onto the hip of Thiramani. He's been a bit both sides of the wicket, Mark Wood. That is tucked behind square. Thiramani will take a single. It's almost like he's trying to protect Matthews from the strike, Thiramani, at the moment. Matthews hasn't had an awful lot to do in the last couple of overs.
There's that bloke who won't talk to us.
Randy Caddick.
Did we get to the bottom of where the bear was this morning?
I believe he was en route.
Oh, okay.
The bear works on the basis that you don't get up 3 minutes earlier than you have to. Which is pretty sensible at that time of day.
Yeah, but Hendo's blood pressure was going through the roof.
Well, unless he's actually going to go and pick him up,
I think Wood is as you say, bowling both sides of the wickets, but I think you could do with pitching it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
And they've only got one slip now.
Last ball of the over, wide of the crease by Wood. I'm not sure if that was accidental or deliberate. He seemed to a dramatic jump out to the to his left, but Matthews just plays the ball out, goes as far as mid-on, no run, 45 for 2 Sri Lanka. A decent recovery after being 7 for 2.
Yes, and no sense of danger. Sorry, Nestlers.
That's all right, mate. No. Serenity now tells, have you ever been to Canberra in Australia? The place is one big roundabout.
Jez, that was a question that we were going to ask you.
Yeah, I've tweeted on that. There are 800 roundabouts in Canberra. None of them has cricket ground, but there is one massive roundabout that incorporates the whole of the parliamentary precinct. So that must be, hundreds of acres.
Wow.
We've got a change in the bowling.
Oh.
We've got spinner for spinner action. And it's going to be Dom Bess.
Does Mark Wood's arm normally go out that far?
I'm not entirely sure about whether it was an experiment or whether it was a change of mind, or I'm not sure what it was with that last delivery. It did seem out of rhythm.
Maybe he's trying to find something that stops him falling on his face.
I was just about to say the very same. It's a balancing thing.
Yeah.
So let's have one spinner for another, and let's jingle up Dom Bess.
If the pitch isn't good,
First
for
ball,
pace,
slightly back of the length, just pushed out to the
this
offside.
lad on his bowling's ace. But if you need someone who bats, you should just save Dom Bess for last.
Bess in again, pitched up just outside off stump. Thiramani looks to try and push the ball through the covers. Well fielded there at extra cover, and there'll be no run.
Nice pose there.
Nice pose,
Yes.
nice bit of fielding by Johnny Bairstow there. As Bess comes in again. Spearing in towards Thiramani's off stump, he rocks back and just plays the ball out to the covers, and there'll be no run. Still 45 for 2.
Ackle tells us it's a fresh track that we're playing on today.
Yeah. Bess in slightly straighter, but outside of off stump. But Thiramani again looks to just defensively push the ball out, and there'll be no run. That water does look very inviting that we can see.
Indeed.
Just the bay just nearby.
Yeah, I think that England supporter had the best idea staying out there, don't you?
Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely.
Nice work if you can get it. Slightly more on the stumps from Bess, and Thiramani's defensive shot just dribbles so that square leg can take 2 steps to field, and there'll be just 1 ball left of Bess's first over.
Which he's pitching up much better than he did his first over in the first test. So that's.
I think he's listened to Bear, I think.
Yeah.
That is
God,
slightly
someone
shorter.
did.
Commentator's curse. Dropped behind square on the leg side. Thiramani will take the single. Matthews still gets to watch things from 22 yards away. And Sri Lanka are 46 for 2 after 18 over. Nestle boy.
Farong tells us the West Indies are 0 for 10 after 4 overs. Otley survives an LBW decision not reviewed by Bangladesh. Leah's sent us a picture of the famous German hip-hopper Thomas D and his pig, and there is a guy with a massive pig, but the pig looks really happy. I like a happy pig.
Do you think a happy pig tastes better than an unhappy pig?
I don't eat bacon anymore, so I don't know.
The person who sent you lots of tweets of happy pigs is Sam Neill, who's got a wonderful Twitter account. He talks to his pigs all the time.
I'd talk
And all
to a
his
pig
animals.
if I had one.
And who wouldn't want to be spoken to by Sam Neill anyway?
Yeah.
You know, pig or human. Well, we're gonna go double spin.
Interesting.
It's going to be Jack Leach, who's just switching ends basically, and is going to replace Mark Wood. 4 overs for 16 runs so far. Let's see whether a change in ends is going to help Mr. Leach. Hopefully these two can put a bit of pressure on, stem the flow of runs, put the onus back on the Sri Lankan batsman.
This is going to be our last over.
Indeed.
Shocking. How quickly the time goes.
Indeed.
It's going to be Leach coming around the wicket, and that's too much on the leg side of Thiramani, and it's a very easy push through mid-wicket. There is a deep fielder there who will limit everything to a single. And Angelo Matthews actually gets to face some cricket balls.
Yes, he's only faced 20 balls.
Must be looking at his bat and going, what am I carrying this around for? Matthews surveys the field around him. A couple of short fielders in. Leach looks slightly distracted and will come in again to bowl around the wicket. Just on, Matthews is off stump, turning away from him, but he's able just to push on the ball. It'll go as far as the covers and there'll be no run. It's interesting watching Test cricket after all the blood and guts and thunder of T20. And it's just like, we've got time to breathe. It's okay.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Good length ball again, just pushed by Matthews. And again, there'll be no run.
I should confess, I do have T20 on the TV at the same time.
It was quite shocking in the first test of this, because I've done a lot of T20 stuff recently, and suddenly I was like, and relax, put my feet up.
That's wider from Leach, and Matthews looks to try and lean back in his crease and cut that ball away, but there is a fielder just behind square for just such a shot, and Matthews finds him with impeccable timing. So a well-timed shot, no run. Matthews is forward to the next ball, and Leach will just walk 2 steps to his right and collect the ball. 1 ball left of this over, and then there will be a little bit of a switch around. Tony is going to be in the command chair, taking us through to lunch. Matthews looks again to cut that ball, and he's able to push through the inner ring, but there is a deep fielder there. He'll walk through for a single. Sri Lanka are 48 for 2. Tony.
Thank you very much, Al. So a bit of a flurry of early excitement created wickets 601 and 602 for Jimmy Anderson. Since then, gentlemen, and I'm joined by Mash. Hello, Mash.
Good day. How's everyone doing?
Oh, Mash, how you doing? Good to see you, mate.
Very well. Yes, indeed. The King of the Caribbean podcast.
I had I disappeared into the ether for a while, but I'm back again.
Well, we're glad you are. I was going to say, wickets 601 and 602 for Jimmy. Since then, Thiramani and Kusal Mendis have, Angela Matthews, I beg your pardon, have settled into their work very nicely, haven't they?
It's been kind of comfortable.
It has.
Really?
Matthews on 8, Thiramani on 33. Certainly, Thiramani carrying on his good work from the second innings of the previous test. Took Sam Curran to take the wickets of both openers back then, you'll recall. All those days ago. Doesn't seem very long. When did it finish? Monday it finished, didn't it? It was literally this week.
It's a million years ago.
There's only 4 days in between. Don Bess is going to continue. He's bowling to Angelo Matthews, who tickles him nicely around the corner down to long leg.
Well, that's good. I don't think he's going to get there.
Did he manage to haul that back in? I think he did. If he did, that was a remarkably agile piece of fielding. Not something you necessarily always, remarkably agile and Jack Leach don't seem to go together, which I think is harsh on Leach because he's a lot quicker and more nimble than people give him credit for. He just has the demeanour of somebody who might not be.
He's every man, isn't he? Or every other man.
Well, he did that quite frankly, superbly. Is very athletic and adept piece of fielding.
Maybe it was
50 is up though for Sri Lanka. Good
I didn't think he was
recovery.
going to get there. I really didn't think he was going to get there.
No, he did look like he didn't. We have a slip. We have a forward short leg in. As this one floats in onto the leg stump of Thiramani, who just pushes it to the looming form of Dom Sibley, who will be casting something of a shadow there from long leg. He has long legs. He's at long legs. And this one is cut by Thiramani straight to backward point. Jack Leach this time probably very grateful that it comes straight to him and he doesn't have to set off in hot pursuit behind him. 51 for 2. Jimmy Anderson has his sleeves rolled up, biceps revealed, is applauding to try and cajole some action out of his spinners. Forward comes Thiramani. There is no run, probably saying something along the lines of, "Come on, lads, Seamers can do it. What are they doing?" Al, that was a shocking angle. My Lancashire accent is about as good as Hendo's, I think, on that occasion.
It's a tricky one. There are accents that if you're not careful, you just slip into other ones.
Well, indeed, as this one onto the back foot goes Thiramani, forces this away to the cover, gets a well run but comparatively easy single. 52 for 2. We've had this is second over for Dom Best, none for 5 for him so far.
You know,
not looked especially threatening, has he?
Well, Best and Leach seem to like they've learnt some lessons from last time. Some
bowling from that city end, good flight on that one, and forward came Matthews. It's the end of that over, 52 for 2, and Mash, who's with us? And what are they telling us?
Well, so Anna Forsyth, obviously this was earlier on in the piece, but says the bear is en route. Lucky. Faron has tweeted and updated us. I've just come from that match where West Indies are 10 for 1. They're currently 15 for 1. What
are you watching it on, Match? What is it on? Is it on television?
No, it's not. I've had to go deep into the dark world of the underweb.
You're not in the dark web, are you?
Nobody wants to broadcast Bangladesh versus West Indies, so I must be the only person in the world watching it.
How to build a bomb and watching cricket.
Turn right for QAnon. Turn left for Afghanistan versus West Indies. Seems harsh, mate. Seems harsh.
Thiramani to face the left-hander. He's facing Jack Leach, and he forces this through mid-wicket. They will take 1. They will not come back for 2. Feel free to dive in with more, Mash, if you have plenty piling up.
Yeah. Actually, I'll come back to those in the next over, but to throw to you two to discuss, are we in the midst of elite? Like, obviously we've always spoken about the big 3, but I just sense, obviously with England's performance in the first test, we're watching some elite cricket teams at the moment in terms of England, India, Australia, New Zealand, clearly a level above everyone else. Or is that, do you think that's me looking as a supporter of a minnow?
That's a very fair, that's a huge question to ask, and not easy during an over a spin, as this one is whipped away all the way to the mid-wicket boundary, and it will be 4 more. It brings up the 50 partnership.
Look at his wrists here, Tony. He's nearly hit himself in the face of the bat.
Yeah, it was beautifully flamingoed it, didn't he?
Yeah.
That back leg was up as the wrists whipped through that into mid-wicket, and it was delightfully put away. 50 runs in 93 balls, this partnership. They have, I think they've gone beyond ship steadying to almost cruising.
Yes.
57 for 2 of these two. Leach comes in again, left arm around, and forward comes Matthews just to push it away to cover. The short answer to your question, Mash, is I think yes. I do feel that is the case. And you look for, as we know, I think a better distribution of broadcast wealth to bring along those other countries. Because 3 teams just constantly playing each other, you know, it's like Rangers and Celtic globally for cricket, isn't it? It's not what you ever want, as this is a way into the offside. Same 2 teams all the time. If you look at the breadth and variety that you get with the likes of Sri Lanka. Sorry, Mash. Al?
No. Keep talking, man.
Keep talking. If only I could apply the same rule at home, that would be fantastic. This is in again by Leach. This is forced through the covers by Matthews. He will get himself, Thimani rather. He will get 2.
I think teams go in cycles. I think you see that in all sport. I think it's interesting when different teams' cycles align, so you get a series of good teams.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that it's aligned that those good teams will play against each other. But as Tony's alluded to, what you don't need is the gap between.
Leach is in again. Thimani solidly forward, and Leach just jogs across to field off his own bowling. It should be the end of this over.
It's an interesting sort of question to kind of give you back, Mash. Is it better for cricket to have a small number of really good sides, or is it better to have parity between a larger number of teams who are of a lesser quality?
I mean, I have 2 ways of looking at it. Obviously, I mean, you both know my views. I've long wanted West Indies to just play the teams around us that we can improve. But having watched England dismantle Sri Lanka in the first test, New Zealand dismantle us and Pakistan at home, the India-Australia series, my whole attitude was like, actually, when you watch those things, you get why the top teams want to play each other, because it's just better cricket. That's not. I don't think that can be disputed. It's just good teams. You want to see good teams play each other and see.
You do, but you want to bring on the teams who have maybe had former greatness and are struggling more now to be back amongst the great and broaden the field, as it were, as this one is pushed by Matthews, where Jimmy Anderson just jogs around.
I think as so long as
fields.
That the New Zealand series must have been some really hard going for the West Indies, but I think it becomes about if you're prepared to learn the lessons from what happened and there's a sense of being able to apply that to be better going forward, then it hasn't been a wasted experience.
Bess is in around the wicket, gets a little bit of turn, probably just straightened a little. Did that ball to Thimani, but he had everything tucked in behind it. The frustrating thing, and if this was true of the West Indies in New Zealand, and it was true in the first test here, that you definitely saw flashes of great things from both Sri Lanka and West Indies, pushed to the man at 4 short leg, Dom simply down on one knee, Fields. I mean, a wonderful stand between Pereira and Kusal Mendes and Thimani. You saw terrific penetrative bowling from Embaldenia. It was just that suicide first innings. If you put that aside, you had a cracking 4 days of cricket here, as this one's pushed into the onside. There is no run. And likewise, I know the West Indies mash suffered in New Zealand, but again, you can find moments of hope in that. I genuinely think you can. There were points at which the West Indies looked much more on their game. This one's forced to cover 2 point, no run.
I think you ran into a buzzsaw there that I think would have done that to almost all teams, I think.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, New Zealand at home at the moment.
Well, they
are
fall
a phenomenal proposition.
They fall like New Zealand often do into the cracks when we talk about world cricket.
Round the wicket comes Bess. This one's flicked again straight to Sibley. He's quite a wall there, isn't he, Al? Is Dom Sibley?
He's a magnet for the ball at the moment. It's finding a way to hit him.
Well, he is a big old magnet too. Personally, can't see the attraction, but there you go.
Some tweets in between overs. PJ Mead says, when I started umpiring in the Premier Leagues in the 1990s, helmets weren't universal. The number of handkerchiefs I gave away to bleeding batsmen was considerable.
Well, thankfully, we're hopefully living in safer times.
I should just mention very quickly, the GPL, you've got 20 minutes till lunch. That's 20 minutes where the GPL is still open. If you want to jump on that, spend your £1 for every guess you want to make. Currently, Bear was at 88. Do we have any more money in the pot?
2.
So we've got 90. So we're at £90. £90. So it's well worth winning. A start for your day. If someone popped £90, you'd go, that was not a bad start to my day, as this one's pushed by Matthews down to long off. They take an easy single. Leach none for 25, and well, we were expecting turn from day one. It hasn't shown too much yet.
Has it?
It's been very well behaved pitch so far. We are, of course, in the first morning of the first day. This one's pushed by Thimani back to Jack Leach. I'm liking Thimani at the moment.
If it's been a few dry days, then maybe this is a slightly tougher track.
60 for 2. 22.2 overs, all of the twos, as this one is steered away to cover, and that will take another easy single. Thimani 36, Angelo Matthews, he'll be back on strike. He's on 18, playing himself in. Both these players are in good nick. Both Thimani and Matthews performed with a great deal of credit. If you take the first innings and almost commit it to the bin of history, as this one is steered to mid-off, another single. But if you get the first innings, then both Thimani and Matthews can look on their work at at Galle, obviously in the previous test, and as jobs well done. And certainly in Thimani's case, he's carrying on where he left off, as indeed is Angelo Matthews. So it could be an important partnership, this, Al, I think, for both Sri Lanka and for England to try and break. If England were, as Leach is in, on the drive straight to a diving stop though at cover, Thimani on 36. If England were to break this before lunchtime, it was Johnny Bairstow. Good agile fielding from him. How must he be feeling? Was he always expecting to rest in India, do we think? First 2 games? Penny for his thoughts, as ever.
Yeah.
This one swept magnificently to the mid-wicket boundary by Thimani, and it's 4 more.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I think I was asking too many questions there. I asked 2.
I would say that, you know, England and India probably have the same sort of idea of problems now, which is 16 into 11 doesn't go.
Yep.
You're always going to be leaving good players out.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's I think so long as there is a squad concept, then you don't necessarily take it as personally. It's when you start to see that people are favoured because of name and reputation rather than form, that's where you start to worry. So I'm hoping that the likes of Bairstow and Wood, who haven't necessarily done an awful lot wrong, that it's about the squad and that it's about the players who are coming back into that squad.
That is very true. Who do we have with us on social? Ash?
Gordon Anderson. Gordon Anderson says, I didn't wake up early enough to hear the jingle for Theramane, but surely a bit of woo from a theremin is appropriate. The instrument that makes sound when your hand is close to it.
That is exactly what happens. And
You've woken the bear up.
It goes all the way through me. You know, when you just like, you know, when you hear a sound, it's like that sound is like fingers on a chalkboard to me. So it's like,
I'm sorry to cut across just for a second. Now we're looking up at the fort, and our friend Randy Caddick, who has a rather English umbrella up to shield himself from the sun, he's got some Sri Lankan company.
Is that actually Malinga, or is it just a Malinga look?
Well, it's a Lasith Malinga wig and a very large Sri Lankan flag. So well done, Sri Lanka. It's and quite right too. If England can have one fan, I think it's all right and proper that on the other fort turret, as it were, Randy Caddick should be accompanied by some Sri Lanka fans. They don't seem to be talking much. Obviously, they're very socially distanced. This one's pushed back to Dom Bess, who continues.
It would be interesting. It's like you know exactly how the test is going by looking at those two people.
Instead of a scorecard, you could just have who's waving there. Well, Randy Caddick seemed to be very busy on his phone, and our Sri Lankan friend seemed to be rather more focused on actually supporting Sri Lanka. So well done to him.
They're showing a bit of the bromance that exists between Randy Caddick and Joe Root. I think it's nice that they're acknowledging his existence, but you know, I can't help but think of that man's inflated ego.
Indeed. Well, we had quite a lot of fun, as I recall.
They are. I think they're trying to get the ball changed here.
Because he's a disc jockey, isn't he? Was Randy Caddick? Yes, I think they are. So this now here to me is a signal.
They pushed it through the hoop. and it went through the hoop last time.
Yeah.
So
That's
we
the
might
signal
see
of a bowling side who wants to make something happen when it's not happening naturally. It's become, I'm afraid, a trait.
A tic-tac.
Cricket globally. Things aren't working for the bowlers. Let's try seeing if we can get the ball changed, even if there is actually no justification for it.
Are you suggesting bad workman blames tools?
I think there is an element of that. Anyway, the discussion we were having with our friend Randy Galle, everybody's friend, he's become quite a global media personality. Because he's a disc jockey, we were looking for cricket-related music that he would be playing at whatever discos, probably not many at the moment, that he's disc jockeying at. I remember my suggestion to him, given that he's Randy Caddick was holding back the years, that which he liked on Twitter, which was quite fun. 66 for 2. Bess is going to be in for the second ball of this over, having tried to get the ball changed unsuccessfully. This is pushed away down to the venerable Jimmy Anderson at mid-on, and there is no run.
Couple of tweets. Neymar Butlins is seething about yesterday's penalty at Anfield, but you know it is what it is. All good runs must come to an end. Darts the West Indies.
You're right.
Slip in place and that forward short leg, and this one is just pushed very tidily by Thimani back to Don Bess. 40 now for Thimani, 20 for Matthews. 67 for 2. There are definitely a lot to admire in the work of these two batsmen at the moment. Bess pulls that one down a wee bit, a little bit shorter. Thimani has bags of time to steer it into the offside, and they'll jog another easy single.
I like, you think about the Thiramani's story of being in and out of the team, and I like the idea that at some point that it's just like things just slot into place, and it's like, actually, oh my god, this is a little bit easier than I thought it was going to. Hang on, I've been getting in my own way.
Bess in again, flipped into the onside, no run this time for Matthews. He made his debut against England, did Thiramani. That was in 2011 at the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
A draw for Sri Lanka, 38 in the second innings. He made his highest score here at Galle, 155.
That's against New Zealand, isn't it?
That was against Bangladesh, actually.
Bangladesh.
This one is flicked by Matthews. It's down to Jimmy, who is at long on. Easy single. End of that Bess over. And we'll get some more social media messages up.
Yes, you will. And Pride and Leah both say, "Hey, Matt. Hey to both of you. Yes, I'm back. I hope to feature in the India series as well, so I hope to be back more significantly." Anna says this is a response to, can't remember if it was Tony or Al disparaging Leach's athleticism. But Anna said Leach isn't athletic. Leach isn't athletic. I guess it's someone else who is most famous for his. Leach isn't athletic. I guess it's someone else whose most famous act on the cricket field is running. Someone else, I presume, and the single, was it the single he ran to?
Yes, indeed, the one at Headingley,
the famous one.
Arguably one of the most famous singles in cricket, in all of cricket history, was that one. 69 for 2, and we're going to see the man who broke the opening partnership in the last test, Sam Curran, isn't it?
Oh, sorry. I thought you was the man. I thought you were going to say it's the man who took the wickets, and I'm like, no, he was really close, but it was the fact that Anderson was standing right next to him when you started talking. Tony, I do apologise.
Righto, thanks, Al.
Sorry.
You throw me off out of whack there for a moment. I thought, hang on.
Sam Curran. He's not from Zimbabwe. Sam Curran. And he's beloved by Liz Yates. Sam Curran.
Well, he's bowling from the fort end, and he's going to be bowling to the right-handed Matthews, who wristily again. You commented on his the suppleness of his wrists. Whips it away to mid-wicket, but there's no run. Sam Curran wipes his brow, not surprisingly. It's going to be hot work out there for those seam bowlers. There's a ring of, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You've got a Galle extra cover. You've got a deep cover and a deep extra as well. And this one
shot.
is threaded through mid-wicket. Having talked about the ringer fielders covering that offside, Curran drops one pretty much on middle and leg, and it's whipped beautifully through mid-wicket for one of these.
That was
enough swing, wasn't there? But it was encouraging, that shot.
It was just a lean on the ball, wasn't it? Just in front of mid wicket. Just didn't look like he hit it too hard. Just, you know, an indication maybe that this might not have the demons of the pitch in the first test.
Very much so. Curran, he's coming over the wicket to the right-hander, who just pushes forward, and there is no run.
It had to be.
Bear, we've
to
got
be
5 minutes to
position.
lunch. Bear, what delights do we have lined up for lunchtime entertainment?
We're going to speak to. Well, you're speaking to Chevy Green.
Chevy Green
from the ACE program.
I will tell you a little bit about that then in a couple of moments as we lead up to lunchtime. We're getting a glorious aerial view of the Galle roundabout as this one's pushed to the onside again by Matthews. Another easy single.
Must be difficult to talk about the ends then if we're playing in the middle of a roundabout.
Well, when you've got the magnificent fort.
Yeah, fort end and non-fort
the fort
end.
end and the city. Well, it's the city end is the other end here at Galle. And but I have to say, extremely impressive effort by Sri Lanka. And I think they're already looking, barring another horrible collapse. They have learnt the lessons of the first morning last time out.
It's got to have been a really brave decision to win to go right. We're going to bat first.
Curran's in. This was flicked through to mid wicket. Jimmy Anderson again is jogging. I wouldn't say sprinting after this. Quite a thoughtful. Joe Root is nodding at something there, but I think he would be very grateful of a win. Of a win, he'd be grateful of a win. He'd certainly be grateful of a wicket this side of lunchtime.
If you think about it, like you're all out for 135, you're pilloried across the entirety of the world's cricket media. You come back to make a decent fist of the match, but you lose. And you lose pretty handily. And you come out and you go, right, we're going to bat again. And you're 7 for 2. I mean, what this pair has done, you know, probably all the way through up to lunch, barring a couple of overs, has been, we'll undersell it, I think.
Curran drops this in short and easy enough though for Angelo Matthews to duck underneath, and it goes through to Jos Buttler. Slightly indicative of the way things have been going is, I think, certainly in my nearly half hour, that's the first time I've mentioned Jos Buttler, suggesting that the ball is not actually calling the wicket. The balls are not calling the wicketkeeper into action too much, which tends to suggest a batting side that's more on top, wouldn't you say?
A little bit, I would imagine so.
Indeed. 42 for Thimani, 26 for Angela Matthews, 75 for Sri Lanka. Mash.
Yes. So Adelaide Barmies, when we were talking about elite cricket teams, he's just said it will be interesting to do a stats analysis, maybe. And maybe people like, Cricketers could have a look. But it says, however, all 4 big guns are pretty good to watch, and there's very little defensive cricket being played by any of them.
That is certainly true. Don Bess is in around the wicket, and it's whipped to sort of wide mid-off, and they will take another single. 75 for 2. Actually, I don't think they ran. I'll take that back. 75 for 2. Thimani 42. He's facing the left-hander. There is a slip and that forward short leg for company, but it's just very squarely pushed back to Bess. There is no run. 75 for 2. The clock on that old Dutch clock tower in the fort is ticking around to 12 o'clock local time.
It's not the same time on both.
No, it isn't. But I think the one that we were looking at more squarely, as it were, is the right one. Pushed back to Bess again. No run.
I think I read about it about churches in Malta where they have deliberately different times to confuse the devil about when the time for services are. That the clock faces on church towers are different on all four sides.
Well, you could arguably say that also confuses your congregation, but there you go. As around comes Bess, and onto the back foot goes Thimani and steers this to backward point, and we'll get another single 76-4-2. Yeah, there's a slightly convoluted logic in that.
Yeah,
you're effectively confusing one person or entity
how good is the excuse of turning around and going, the clocks are different?
They're all right at least once a day, as this one is forced into the covers. There's no run by the estimable Angelo Matthews, who's looked in very fine nick indeed this morning, with Sri Lanka wobbling a little earlier on with 2 quick wickets, both to the master craftsman that is Jimmy Anderson. But now Sri Lanka will have their eyes on lunch, feeling probably reasonably good about life. This away is into the offside once more, and there is no run. 76-4-2.
That's it.
26 overs are complete, and that probably is lunch. Indeed it is. So we'll do a couple of things. Mash will update us on final social media messages, and I'll tell you just a little bit about the interview you're going to hear.
Yes, so after Woy Woy Pom said, what rubbish will Best take wickets with today? You'll have to see after lunch with what he does. Who's this? Imagine, but I can't see the says, I just turned on the T20, I think that's Black Clash? Cricketers versus rugby players from New Zealand. Billy Bowden is umpiring, and his signals are even more over the top. I really don't miss attention-seeking eccentrics, or eccentricities, I should say. Carrying on through. Knackle was updating about the West Indies. However, they're now currently 37 for 3 after 13 overs, so we know how that's going to go. Adelaide Barnes is off to the pub to continue listening to Guerrilla Cricket and booze on. Leah says Kieran Otley could be a question in a Windies cricketer or Swedish black metal pseudonym type quiz. Mog says, have we discussed Shakib Al Hassan's triumphant return from his ban yet? That's one maybe for after lunch.
That's one might be more for you than...
Yeah, I'll get to that. I'm on after lunch. And Messi Jez says, considering there's been 12 overs of spin, 26 overs in 2 hours is pretty ordinary.
Well, yeah, that is true. Okay,
send your emails to Gary Naylor about that.
Yeah, let me give you just the story of the morning. It's 76 for 2. Lahiri Thurmani is 43 not out of 93 balls. The wickets to fall were both to Jimmy Anderson. Kusu Pereira caught at slip, flashing at a one that moved away from him, snaffled by Joe Root. Ashado Fernando playing his first game on Sri Lankan turf, or his first test on Sri Lankan turf. His previous 6 had all been away, as it were, but he was bowled playing off the back foot, inside edged, back onto his stumps. He went for naught. Angelo Matthews is the other not out batsman. Good recovery to take Sri Lanka to 76-4-2 at lunch. Now, to entertain you, I recently spoke to Chevy Green, who's the Director of Programmes at Surrey County Cricket Club's ACE programme. There was a study by the Leeds Beckett University last year which found a 72% decrease in black players in the English game between 1995 and 2019. And prior to Jofra Archer, just one English-born black player had played a test since 2004. Not just the professional game, by the way. In the recreational game too, only 1% of players are from African Caribbean heritage. It is to address that sad and very sorry decline in both the participation at both the professional and club level of black African Caribbean cricketers. That the ACE programme was formed, chaired of course by Ebony Rainford Brent, active support of the likes of Michael Holding and Sir Trevor McDonald. But Chevy is the man who's directing it and trying to at all levels encourage the greater participation of that black African and Caribbean community. and he had a lot of interesting things to tell me about it. So with no further ado, let's pop him on, and you can have a listen to that through lunch.
Chairman Mao, Jamie Howe, Ho Chi Minh, Asif Din, Václav Havel, Graham Saville, No Surrender, Percy Fender, Guerrilla Crickets.
Welcome to Gorilla Chat, and today I am delighted to say that my guest is Chevy Green, Director of Programmes for Surrey's ACE programme. Now, a study by Leeds Beckett University last year found that a 72% decrease in black players in the English game between 1995 and 2019. Well, just one English-born black player had played Test match cricket since 2004. That's prior to Jofra Archer. And it's not just in the professional game. In our recreational game, only 1% of players are from African Caribbean heritage. Now, the ACE programme was launched by Surrey County Cricket Club in January 2020 in response to this alarming decline, with the bold intent of doing something about it. And to help us understand what and how well it's doing, I am thrilled to say hello to Chevy. Hello, Chevy.
Hi, Tony. Thanks for having me. Greatly appreciated to be with you this morning and talk around all things the ACE programme. Looking forward to getting stuck in with you.
Well, fantastic. Well, let's lob you a gentle full toss to start with. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came into your current role.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Chevy Green, I'm now director of the ACE programme, but it started off for me at Surrey 7 years ago. Started off as a community coach, became a development officer, and then a cricket participation manager, and this role just kind of appeared, really. I was working on the Surrey ACE programme, and back in March, where we had the trials and the open days, the programme was then heavily affected by COVID, but through that process, Sport England got in touch with us, and they liked what we were doing, and said, we want to support the program to grow. And initially, it just started off as an extension of my role at Surrey as a participation manager, where I helped, make the bid and, worked with Ebony and Richard Gould to kind of put a bit of meat on the bones to the program. And then, skip a few months down the line, as things progressed, Sport England said, let's make this bigger. Could we make it into a national program? And we said, okay, yes, let's look at that. And they said, can you work towards making an independent charity? We'll give you a year to do that. And between Ebony and I and a few others at Surrey, we set up the charity in 8 weeks. And
wow.
then the conversation said, who's gonna run the program? So then that's where the role came for me.
And you were the only one left sat in the room.
Yeah.
They went, it'll be you.
Pretty much. Yeah, so it's kind of looking around, and a few, there's a few rumblings of, Chev, you might potentially get to run this program, and then it happened. So then there's a bit of negotiation between the Surrey Cricket Foundation, the charity arm of the club who I was working for, and the county club and Sport England, and then it was decided that I'd be the director of programs, and I just thankful with everything that's going on this year, the past year or so, to still have an opportunity to progress and develop my career in something that I'm really, really passionate about. And it's exciting. Like, we launched in October as the independent charity, and I'd started on the 1st of December with my new role as director of programs, and it's been quite full on, juggling all the different stuffs with the lockdowns and everything else. And we went as soon as we could get back out in December. We had 3 sessions before Christmas with the current scholars that we've got on the program. And then, we had plans to do some more stuff this month, and we was going to have another open day in February. And, we launched in Birmingham this month as well. And, due to like everything else, it's kind of been put a little bit on the back burner, but there's still a lot of things, going on and taking place. So, just excited.
We'll come along and we'll talk about all of those things in good order, I think. So Ebony Brent is chair of
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
of
so
the,
she-
of the
she
charity,
kind of-
isn't she? Was she directly
Yeah,
involved in your appointment?
Yeah, she was. She kind of founded the program. There was a few people at the time actually having a lot of separate discussions, but Ebony kind of pulled it all together and kind of led from the front on this. And yeah, I've known Ebony for quite a number of years now, and as we was kind of working on the bid and putting everything together, and as everything landed, she was quite pivotal in having the confidence in me, putting my name forwards to be director of the program. So I'm thankful that she saw something in me and other people at Surrey, like Richard Gould, the chief exec, and my ex-employer Chris Coleman at the foundation, all saw something in me and believed in me, and that I could be the director and take this charity forward. So just positive, and can't thank them enough for
that's fantastic. Great for you, and great for them. Let's ask another simple question, just for everyone's understanding. We have a very international audience, not just the UK. I might obviously. So it's a fairly simple one. ACE, is it an acronym? I could see African Caribbean potentially in there. Is it just a statement of intent? Tell us about ACE, the word itself in this context.
Do you know what, Tony? It's a bit of both, if I'm honest. It started off as the African Caribbean Engagement Program, and that's what ACE stands for. And I remember we was in a meeting, and I kind of just said, how can we simplify it a little bit, and that's where ACE came. But Ebony and I talk a lot about accelerated change. So with ACE as well, we use ACE as accelerated change empowerment. So we want to move things forward as quickly as can and empower the young people that we work with to fulfill the potential that they have. So yes, it's an acronym, and yes, it's a statement. I want one day to hopefully everyone will determine the name ACE as part of our program, and not just a serve in tennis
or a card.
Or a card, yeah.
but yeah, I get. Well, it's funny though, because when I looked at multiple articles about you and social media and your own sites, because you got a lovely section on the Kia Oval Surrey site, but then that links to the charity site. You don't ever actually use the three words in full, or if you do, I missed it. So that's why I asked that.
It's very rare. It's very rare. I think it's just to simplify it a little bit. But yeah, I just want get to a point where everyone knows that it stands for African Caribbean.
Well, the mission statement, bold and clear and absolutely restated everywhere, is supporting diverse talent from grassroots to the elite. And you kind of, I think, cite three objectives within that. So to sort of get everyone kind of understanding where we are and what we're talking about, I'm going to read those out, if you don't mind. But then perhaps we'll go back to them one at a time, and you can tell us what's going on behind those and what some of the success measures are. So supporting diverse talent from the grassroots to the elite. Sitting within that, three big objectives, which are building grassroots programs, talent pathways, and the better ID within black communities. Providing elite academy programs and scholarships to talented players, allowing them to fulfill their potential. And the development of a diverse coaching and volunteer scheme through targeted training and mentor programs. So that's a pretty clear agenda of things to be done. Let's look at them one at a time. Maybe the first one, building grassroots programs, talent pathways, and talent to open up to the black community opportunity. Tell us a bit more what's behind that and what's been happening and how you're doing.
Yeah, so for us, we know there's talent out there in the black British communities, and we've seen other sports excel in that. Football's got a high number, rugby recently, athletics, other sports have captured that talent. So for us, there's a long history, I guess, with the black community with cricket, going back to the Caribbean and Africa, and we just want to try re-engage that. And to do that, we're unfortunately we're at a stage where we have to infuse and find the talent out there, and by doing that we have to go to where they are. So we've got a school program that we plan to roll out, and going into and setting up community hubs, and just being an access point aspect. So we've got to really try and get to where the kids go, working with schools and youth clubs and community groups, and doing a series of different, skills and challenges that are cricket based, but also a bit fun. And then from that, we'll be able to draw, some key denominators that we can say that they've got potential or a bit of talent, and then put them into our academy program if that is required.
I saw one extraordinary stat, I think, from one of the things Ebony had said. It was 33,000 black children walk past the gates of the Oval every day. Was it every day, every week? But the point I suspect was, the just massive, untapped, probably unmotivated, not currently interested but could be well of talent that potentially is out there right on Surrey's doorstep.
Yeah, it's quite sad when you look at it, because there'll be many kids and families that are in the vicinity of the ground that are from the community that we want to attract, but some of them wouldn't even know that the Oval is a cricket stadium. Imagine that for us as cricket fans, the Oval is iconic, but people living on their doorstep some of them wouldn't even necessarily know it. Is it a football stadium? Is it rugby? They wouldn't necessarily know that it's a cricket stadium, which in some aspects is very embarrassing. So part of the thinking at the start was how can we infuse the communities that the Oval is in, Lambeth, the heart of got a big history of black communities. We need to be more, the Oval needs to be more reflective of that, and unfortunately for many years it hasn't. So by having this program, we hope to change that and make the community feel a lot more that open to coming into the ground, whether it is to watch, to play, and just be a part of it. And a lot of the areas that we plan and hope to go into, and by launching Birmingham is all targeted boroughs that have a higher population of the black community. So for us, it's as part of our talent pathway. The only slight difference is where we'll be doing the school stuff and the community engagement program and the community hubs is for a young black boy and girl who's got African Caribbean heritage. We'll look to kind of accelerate them into our academy if they've got a bit of talent, to give them some additional support. And if there any, we're going to be working with all ethnicities. London is multi-diverse and loads of other areas are multi-diverse. So talented young Asian or white children, they will still get the opportunity to be part of our program at the kind of school and community level. But if they've got a bit of talent, we'll put them into my colleagues at Surrey to facilitate their development that way into the existing program there. All we're doing is through the ACEs providing a bit of extra support and coaching for young black British children.
I saw an interesting quote. I don't think it was that recent, but it was by Daniel Bell Drummond, I think, and he was talking about the different challenges between African Caribbean and South Asian communities. And the case, or the argument he made was, or the challenge he put forward was, in the case of South Asian communities, there was the massive interest in playing the game, but working them through to the professional system was the harder part. But in the case of the African Caribbean communities, the kind of the interest in cricket has waned to the extent that it's getting them interested in the game itself. So it has a different set of challenges. How do you kind of gear up to address those challenges? It's one thing to promote being in clubs and things like that, but you're actually having to almost reignite the interest of a whole generation in the game of cricket, or certainly be part of that. How do you see that as a sort of a different set of challenges that you've got?
Yeah, no, first and foremost, I have to say thank you to Daniel anyway, because Daniel's a good supporter of us at the charity. He did a good Zoom with us, our young scholars, so that was quite inspiring. And yeah, as you said, the percentages that you raised earlier are dire. A 1% participation at recreational level, and the drop off at the professional games are dire. So for us, it's trying to boost those numbers, and with the South Asian communities, culturally, historically, a lot of the main sports that they play, all over the world, those South Asian communities is their main sport is cricket. So they have a vast interest in the game, and they've continued where where they've still got their separate kind of parks leagues and leagues that they play on a Sunday. So that whilst they're still ingrained in playing on a Saturday in the traditional formats, they still continue their long history of their own, cricket and infusing that. And years ago there was the same for the Caribbean cup competitions that used to take place. I remember the Clive Lloyd Cup and all those kind of things, and unfortunately for the Black British community over here, that kind of stopped and didn't continue. A lot of let's say the forefathers of the game, who are now probably grandparents and parents, didn't necessarily pass down that same love for cricket, and potentially there was a few barriers in there, time, finances, many different potential aspects that could happen. But ultimately, that love for the game necessarily wasn't passed down as massive as it was within the South Asian community. So for us, we've got to try and make a change. We're kind of, as you say, starting afresh in some places, but it's exciting that we've got somewhere to start, which isn't that high, and hopefully through this program we'll be saying that we can get the numbers up to one day just as much as the South Asian communities have had over the years in this country. And the journey, it's all part of a journey, and our journey starts at one point, and hopefully we've done some good things already, but we the main plan is, COVID permitting, we can go and infuse as many
it will
people
permit.
as we can to
might take longer than we want, but it will permit eventually.
So it will definitely come, but
so it's grassroots participation to ignite interest, and kind of starting on your own doorstep. But Surrey is jolly well located in a way to do that. I'll come on and talk about some of the expansion and other things. You talk about as well, the other one was providing elite academy programs and scholarships to talented players. Now you have one young chap at Surrey, don't you, who's coming through. Talk a little bit about how the academy is going.
Yeah, the academy's good. We've got 26 scholars at the moment, from all up and down the country. Actually, we've got a couple players from Bristol that travel down, one from Hertfordshire, one from Cambridge. A young lady travels down from Cambridge. So we've got players coming from all over. We unfortunately, the program has been heavily impacted, like anything else. So we didn't have through the summer as much training sessions and matches as we'd have liked. But for us, like you mentioned, a young man, Idris, was already a talented young player. And for whatever reason, didn't make it, and we didn't make Idris a talented player in the summer. The two training sessions and 2 games that he played in, he was already talented. All we did was expose him and give the opportunity in front of the right people. Credit to Jeremy Greaves, who's one of the performance managers at Surrey and is one of the head coaches on our program, and Gareth Townsend, the academy director at Surrey. They saw him, and he ended up getting to play a game for the Surrey under-18s at the back end of this season. So for us, it's just trying to create that opportunities where we can. We know there's some talented players. We've got within our scholars at the moment. We've got some high-end level talent of players that we want to keep providing those opportunities to play, and there's others that are kind of starting more on their journey. We've got a little bit more of a long way to go, but it's just supporting their development to get better. So we were having regular 2-hour sessions in once a week.
Did I see a number of about 70 signed up academy scholars at some point?
We had at our trial, so we had at the open days, we had 70 people attend the open days,
right.
And then we whittled it down to 24, and then over the course of the summer we took on 2 extra as well. So yeah, we've got varied levels in the current scholars of abilities, some at the higher end, some at the lower end, but yeah, we're just trying to support them to be as best players as they can, whether that is to continue their ambition to become to get into a county age group, and for others it might just be a better club player. So we're just trying to manage everyone's expectations best as they can. And in the past couple of weeks, we've had some interest from a lot of parents and players that are currently at some existing county age groups across the country, and feel at times slightly isolated, being one of the only black children playing, or one of two within their respective counties, and they've faced, unfortunately, some of them have faced some on the field and off the field racism, and felt that sometimes the support that they've received from the county wasn't enough, and they've reached out to say, you know, what can Ace do for them. So we're kind of working on a mentoring type program to support those existing players at county age groups, and their parents, you know, just being, you know, not necessarily on the playing side. If they need some extra assistance with the playing and coaching, we will do that, but it's more on the mentoring side, just being a support mechanism for the parents and the players, you know, when they face these issues. So yeah,
for every promising sports person going through age groups, there's a parent that gets them where they need to be. Trust me, I know. Okay, so that's very much about the academy and bringing on talent. Then the third thing you talk about was development of diverse coaching and volunteering scheme to actually bring through the training and mentoring. Now, the professional game is not necessarily a great thing to look at by and large right now in terms of the number of Black, African, Caribbean coaches. So is it a question of really sort of starting at grassroots level to ultimately change that?
Yeah, to a certain extent. That we know there's a lot of existingly, there's quite a lot of coaches out there. Well, I say a lot. There's a lot of male coaches out there at the moment. You know, coaching in the different environments. But we found a lot of them are, say, at level 2. And we want to try and progress them onto level 3 and create opportunities where they can get into, you know, the performance environment. And also we just want to attract more coaches into the game. Try and get, you know, we want cricket to reflect society, and like I said, with, you know, a lot of these cities, you know, London and Birmingham are very diverse, and, you know, I think cricket should reflect that in the areas that they're in. So we want to try and encourage more coaches from the Black community to get involved, and we definitely want to get more women involved in the game. We want to get more women coaching. We want to try and get more women and girls playing the game as well. And the other thing we know, Tony, is that the percentage to become a professional in any sport is low. The numbers are low, so what we want to try and do is keep everyone infused, and the young people that we work with and old ones, we just want to try and get more talent from that into becoming, you know, coaches, strength and conditioning coaches, nutritionists, scorers, umpires. You know, it could be the next second 11 or third 11 captain at a club, and you know, the more junior coaches, you know, working on programs. So we just want to try and diversify cricket through our program, and like I said, the main thing is, you know, I feel like, you know, cricket should reflect society, and you know, we live in a very multicultural time, and I think cricket could play a part in that, and hopefully we'll do that through this program to try and get more young coaches.
On Guerrilla Cricket, we would 100% support you on that. Let me so you've talked a little bit about the 3 objectives and some successes that we're already seeing there. One of the things you've mentioned the phrase, actually, and certainly Ebony has spoken about it in sort of various interviews I've seen that she's done about accelerating change.
Yeah.
Let's try and put pandemics to one side if we possibly can. Give that, just imagine for a second we could. If you project yourself forward 3 years of accelerated change from where we're going to be having this conversation in 3 years' time, either in a studio or at the Oval or somewhere around the world, because you've gone global. I don't know. What are you looking back and saying we have done? What does success look like 3 years from now?
You know, 3 years from now, that percentage you first spoke about is going to go way up. I don't want to put a number on it just yet to sabotage myself at the moment. But no, definitely more young Black, British, African, Caribbean heritage children playing the game, infused. You know, we've got plans to do that by, you know, looking at some of the key national programs the ECB do, you know, All Stars Cricket and Dynamos, and, you know, working with other partners like Chance to Shine to try and spread the awareness, and going into targeted boroughs and places and cities where we know the higher populations are. So by naturally doing that, we believe that we will be able to get the numbers up, and then not just getting people playing. We want to really transition. We want to transition players. So I'd love to say to you that in 3 years' time, some of the ones in our academy scholars at the moment who are maybe at the moment say 14 or 15, by the time 3 years down the line, we could say they're 18, 19, and hopefully would have had an academy contract or playing on a rookie contract somewhere at a county. That's kind of the main goal. And like I said as well, Tony, it's just we want to empower the young people. We know not everyone is going to become a professional as much as we'd like them to. So it's just hopefully we could get some people working within cricket still, whether that is within cricket development, whether it is in the marketing team, whether it is events, but still involved in the game. There'll be more of a diverse feel to it, because at the moment you look at many of the different county boards, there's not many black faces across the country working in cricket development at the various counties. So that's
or at the coaching level or at playing level, and there's in a nutshell our challenge, right?
Yeah, so it's just the case we want to try and through this program make sure that we're supporting cricket to get more black faces into the game, and I'm excited to try and do that, and that is the goal. And we want to expand, and we've got some ambitions to go into other cities, and already we've had some great interest from other counties already that are reaching out to us, so we just want to be in a position to service that.
Well, let's talk about that, because you've already I think you mentioned earlier, you talked about Birmingham and Warwickshire and your high concentration of black African Caribbean communities. You have expanded or replicated or licensed the model out, however you've done it, to work with Warwickshire. Tell us a little bit about how that's going.
Yeah, that kind of was those initial conversations started happening around September last year, and then they progressed once we launched it properly in October. We've had a lot of meetings since then, and the plan was to launch this month. Obviously it's impacted like everything else, but it's replicating the same model where we would have been going out into schools just in in the targeted area of Handsworth in Birmingham. We would have been doing some stuff around there, and it kind of mirrored the same. They would have set up an academy, they would have weekly sessions, and they would have had a community hub as well. So everything that we're kind of doing in London, we're looking to do in Birmingham. Everything will look the same, and the support will be the same as well. And we just want to, by doing that, we had, it's probably come a lot sooner than we thought. We kind of had a year we was going to try and focus just on London, but we couldn't turn down the opportunity once Warwickshire were on board and was interested, and credit to them and credit to everyone else behind the scenes to help push that through. And we just got to be adaptable in this time, and they'll be starting their academy once.
Is there a Chevy of Warwickshire?
Who's in there is I've got a good friend, a guy called Eaton Gordon. Eaton's been involved at Warwickshire for a number of years. He's a manager in their cricket, their county board. Eaton's a great guy. He's been involved in cricket for a long time, and he's got a lot of good local knowledge to the area, especially Handsworth. His cricket club is Handsworth Cricket Club, so he's got vast experience. And trust him wholeheartedly to deliver the program just as well in Birmingham. And we have regular chats, and it's quite I think with anything you got to have the right people around you. And Eaton's one of the good guys in cricket, and we'll be supporting him as much as we can, and the team up there. And like for us as well, it's not just the London program, it's now a Birmingham program, so we've got to be just as visible in both cities to attract both. And I
can think of 501 good reasons why the West Indian Afro-Caribbean community should embrace Warwickshire. So there you go. What a legend that is. What a role model. Yeah, indeed. Speaking of legends, though, people may or may not know, on your patrons, you've got some pretty well-known folks, haven't you? Tell us about some of those. You've got Ebony, Michael Holding, Sir Trevor MacDonald, Roland Butcher, who, by the way, is a regular contributor to our show, particularly when England play the West Indies. He's often on the line. Denise Lewis, Sophia Dunkley, Mark Butcher, Alex Tudor used to coach just around the corner from me at Hampton Wick, actually. I'm sure he had many other coaching gigs, but that was one of them. Lonsdale Skinner. So these people are not just sort of sitting back and saying good luck, are they? There's a lot of active engagement there. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and just to add, just the past couple of months, we added Chris Jordan and Jofra Archer as well, who came on as ambassadors. So we need to update the website. So we'll update the website, get them. But those patrons and ambassadors you mentioned, are whole, fully invested into the program. As an example, Alex Tudor's joining us and joining myself and the scholars this evening on a Zoom, having a talk with him. So we've got Sophia Dunkley lined up to do something as well. In a couple of weeks, and Roland Butcher, he's already sent me, we talk over WhatsApp and he sends me different ideas and things that we can do to implement. Obviously he's based in Barbados, lucky for him. But as soon as he's already said once everything kind of loosens up and he comes over, he'll be more actively involved, as a presence over here. But he's already been sending me loads of different ideas and resources that we can use.
Easy to say, we love having him on the show, so that doesn't surprise me.
So, he's a good guy, and and Mikey and Ebony have a fantastic relationship, and he's been sending her stuff, and there's a lot of frequent conversations. Lonsdale Skinner, he's chairman of the African Caribbean Cricket Association. At times I speak to Lonsdale more than most people, so there's a lot of connectivity there, and looking forward to working more with Sir Trevor McDonald and Denise Lewis over time, and Mark Butcher as well. So it's all, I think, and through all the ambassadors and patrons we've got, there's a lot of kind of personal connections there already through Ebony and myself, and once we had that conversation, they're all fully on board to be part of the program, and it's very exciting to have these people, these names, household names, involved in the program, and it does help with certain conversations and brings a greater exposure to the program, and for them as well, a lot of them have said, we wish Ace was here, wish he was part of something like this, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So there wasn't a decline in the drop off, but we are where we are, and just using their expertise where we can to help develop the program as best, and show the scholars and the parents that they are involved. Like I said, Alex is coming on to our Zoom tonight, and that'll be an exciting experience to hear for the young people and their parents, to hear from him, sharing his journey in the game and what he's done and what he's doing now, and how his vision to help the Ace program moving forwards.
Yeah, you've got to have a long-term view. I know I was pushing you for acceleration, and what are we chatting about over a beer in three years time? But you're talking about, let's not sugarcoat the challenge. You're talking about reigniting the lost interest of a whole generation of Black African Caribbean cricket fans.
Yeah.
Not from a near standing start. It's just dwindled so awfully, and that's the scale of the challenge. So 3 years was ambitious on my part, but you have to have a long-term view. It sounds like you have.
Yeah, no, for us, we're funded by Sport England for 3 years as a minimum, but for us, we see this as a much bigger program, and we're not looking to go anywhere anytime soon. We want this to be around. For me, as well, I want to take the charity as far as I can, and within how many years, I could pass this down onto maybe one of the Ace scholars that came through as a player and now work their way up within cricket to become my kind of level as well. So that would be a fantastic journey where you could have players coming through our program that went on to play professional cricket